Hi there, sorry about that false start. Welcome to everybody in the room and on Zoom. This is the March meeting of the Parks and Waterfront Committee of Community Board 2 Manhattan. I'm Susanna Aaron, the vice chair. Our chair is Rich Cacapolo in the upper left screen, waving to you, who will join in as whenever he wants. And I think, so here's how it's gonna go. First we'll introduce the members of this committee. We have two main agenda items. The first is going to be a conversation with Will Morrison of Washington Square Park. There's two topics about Washington Square Park, but of course you can ask other questions. So Will will carry that. I know that there are people here who are here to advocate for off-leash hours of dog runs, and we've discussed that we'll listen to all your feedback, and we'll keep it, if you don't mind, to just a short amount of time because we have a packed agenda. After you guys, we will hear from the Hudson Square bid about a redesign project for a plaza on 6th Avenue. And then we will go into business session. Anyone is welcome to stay at business session, but we no longer take public comment at that time. So we'll start with introductions.
Frederica Siegel, member of the Parks Committee.
Valerie De La Rosa, chair of CB2.
Hi, Chris Dignas, member of this committee and the board.
Eddie Siegel, committee member.
Okay, Rich, is there anything you want to add?
No, both. We have two new members on our committee. Both are unable to make it.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? We can't hear you.
We have two new committee members.
We have two new committee members who are not here tonight.
Yeah, both were notified this week and were unable to change plans they already had in place, but they will join us in person next month.
And that's Will Benish, who's already on our board, and Nina Chen, who is new-ish to our board.
Yeah.
And will be great. Wait, also online, Shirley, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Shirley Secunda, board member, committee member.
Were you able to hear that? And Ben, do you want to introduce yourself here?
Ben Listman, committee member.
Okay.
Sharon's online too.
The audio from the Zoom is very quiet, so when we turn to that, we'll just all be very quiet so we can hear it. All right, I'm going to toss it to Will Morrison of the Washington Square Park and the Washington Square Park Conservancy. Will?
Hi, thank you. Okay, great. Everyone can hear me. I don't know if the slides are up, but we can put them up in a moment. But really here to discuss two topics. The first one is related to the Washington Square Park Conservancy. After 13 years, the Washington Square Park Conservancy is rebranding itself. Just visually, it's the first rebrand since the inception of the organization, and our goals have evolved, so we are evolving with it. Most of that really is going to appear digitally, not physically in the park, but there are two executions here, which is a marketing term for different types of signs that we are looking to put in the park as part of this rebrand effort and as a licensed partner of NYC Parks. So they're right here up on the screen. One is an entrance adjacent signage that really just has the parks logo and the Conservancy logo. And the second one are location banners for various locations in the park that have named plazas, for example, but don't actually have location signs. We worked with a wonderful design firm on the rebrand named Pentagram. We are fully launching the brand at the end of the month, so I don't want to spill the beans quite yet on all of the cool stuff, but we're very excited about it, and a big part of the rebrand is actually overhauling our website, so there's an actual functioning calendar widget for all of the wonderful programming that's done in the park and all the volunteer opportunities, as well as the rich, history of the park is up there, a lot of different pages about our various communities, so on and so forth. So I'm here just presenting on this really for the support of the community board, since Washington Square Park is a landmarked park. Everything has to go through the landmarks Preservation Commission for approval if it's going to be mounted in the park. And they look for support from the community board in those when we go to those hearings. So that is really what this first topic is all about, and that's pretty much it.
So just, I see a sign that shows the logo of the Washington Square Park Conservancy now is sort of an abstracted arch.
Correct, yeah.
And it's together with the leaf.
With the leaf of the Parks Department,
And
yep.
then it looks like you have some specific signage for specific parts of the park.
Correct, and bonus points if you can guess which plaza Scrabble Plaza is.
I already know,
Okay,
but I
all
would
right.
call it Fentanyl Plaza.
Yeah,
That's
there
it.
you go.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Anyone from the committee?
Where is Scrabble Plaza?
It's the plaza in the northwest corner, which has been so
reinvented.
delightfully reinvented,
Okay.
and we are continuing that trend with
Perfect,
this.
perfect.
So, yeah.
Are there any questions from? Oh, yes, sorry, Shirley.
Yeah, I have a question. How many signs will there be?
That's a great question, Shirley. So for the entrance adjacent signs, that execution on the left, they'll be on each side of each entrance, and there are a total of 10 entrances in the park. But they are quite medium to small size signs. They're about the same size. They're actually a little bit smaller than our standard regulatory rules, single rule sign, not the big consolidated ones that are park signs. And then in terms of the location banners, depending on the location, we would do either one or two, depending on its size. And then there are other parts of the park that would only get one, like, not a lot of people know that all of the little bump out plazas on the east side of the park are called reading nooks, for example. So we're going to put up signs that say reading nook, but they'll actually be half the size of the one in that photo. So they're very similar to signs that folks might see in Central Park or Prospect or a few other parks around the city that have the same treatment. And I really like that they're on the light poles, because it's like not, and the existing wrought iron fence, because it's not adding any more physical infrastructure to the park. It's really just utilizing what's already there.
Do you have another question, Shirley?
Yeah, that answers it. Thank you.
Does this go before the design commission, the city's design commission?
It will go before LPC. I don't believe it meets the threshold for PDC, but it will go in front of LPC.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, yes, Jeffrey.
Will those be staff level approvals for LPC?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I hope the answer is yes.
Okay.
That would be wonderful. After this, and hopefully a letter of support, then I would start talking to LPC about that.
Okay.
And whether it would be staff or full board.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So if we have no more questions, we'll go on to the next topic.
Great.
Yes,
Oh,
please. Rich.
I'm sorry, Coral is trying to ask a question. And Pete Davies is trying to ask a question. I'm monitoring the Zoom.
Yeah, Pete Davis and Coral. Okay, I for some reason can see nothing. So,
Okay, I got it covered. Let's promote Coral. Coral, can you speak now? I can try to promote her. Hold on.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm not at a
Coral,
computer.
I'm going to allow her
I
to
can do
talk.
it also.
Okay, go ahead. Can you speak now, Coral?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think this is a fabulous initiative, and I just wanted to ask whether you all have reached out to Hasbro or Mattel about participating in the activation, because I could imagine that they would jump on that. And it's kind of cool that you have two different owners with two different sets of rules around the world, so they could be like, competitions of the different sets of rules. So it could be a whole nother activation too, and plus that could, possibly supplement the budget.
That is a wonderful question, Coral. The answer is yes. We have not really heard back from them, but we are working with a local community member, Christina Economos, who's actually the co-president of the NYPD Community Council, who's been an avid Scrabble player for decades and used to play in the park back in the 80s and 90s. And she's hopefully we're gonna figure out a good weekly program for her to have Scrabble back in that corner, actually once a week. Hope it works out in terms of the permitting, but Pentagram has confirmed for us that icon, we're able to use it. It's under parity protection, but ideally it would be great if Mattel or Hasbro would get back to us and want to be involved, and we've made that ask.
Okay.
Okay, there's a Pete and
Pete
Catherine.
Davies?
Yeah, thank you. Couple of questions. The size of the proposed banners for the lampposts, do you know what that size is?
Off the top of my head, I believe they are 24 by 16, but I could verify that and send it into the community board.
Okay, and this is to be implemented, that it's been determined that this will be introduced and then individual situations will go before the LPC, or the entire program will go before the LPC?
No, the entire program will go before LPC, but we want to get a letter of support from the community board before we put this in front of LPC.
So is this the public's only opportunity to give input on this to the community board?
To the community board, sir, but the whole point of LPC is that it's another public forum to provide input as well.
Understood. I urge the committee to reject this. We don't need signage all over Washington Square Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Is there anyone else?
We've got Catherine has her hand up.
Catherine Swan?
Yeah.
Catherine?
Yes, hi. So yeah, mentioning Central Park and Prospect Park, those are obviously much, much larger parks than Washington Square Parks, and they do not have this much signage in their parks. So those are not good examples. And Madison Square Park doesn't even have this much signage. This is way too much signage for Washington Square Park. I don't know why you need so much branding within Washington Square Park. It is totally unnecessary. What is already there, I don't know, maybe there's like 2 signs of which weren't approved initially before the community board. Those big signs that are there, I don't know, remember now, but I know there's one on the north side by the arch. I mean, that's more than sufficient. That's even too much. Those are so big. And the historical markers somehow went away and never came back. And so then it's even bigger because there's nothing else to diffuse it. So I think this is totally unnecessary. I don't know why it's necessary. And it is way too much, way, way too much. There should not be this many signs advertising your private group within Washington Square Park. It's a public park. The Parks Department should take precedence. And this is too much. And I think that's fairly obvious. If anyone is paying attention.
Is there a question in there?
I don't have a question.
Okay.
I'm stating my opinion. I don't have to have a question.
Okay. No, that's okay, Catherine. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't mean to be angry about it, but don't say that to me.
Everything is fine. Everything. I just wanted to know if there was a question.
There's no question, just that this is not appropriate.
Can I pose it as a question on her behalf? Can I ask why does the Conservancy feel it beneficial to post signs in the park?
Well, that's a great question, Rich. Thanks.
I credit Catherine.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Catherine. I believe it's included a sentence on each one on the slide, but essentially the entrance adjacent signage, and again, well, I should mention, both of these executions have been approved internally by NYC Parks. NYC Parks has an internal sign committee that all of these types of things go in front of for all of the licensed partners of the agency, including the Conservancy, and they have approved both of these. The entrance adjacent signs are an acknowledgement of the partnership, the licensed partnership that is in place at Washington Square Park. At this point, the Washington Square Park Conservancy spends just as much annually on the upkeep and maintenance of the park as the Parks Department, and both the agency and the organization want to reflect that partnership. The location banners really solve something that I see all the time being in the park almost every day, which is that a lot of people don't know where certain things are, or where a reading nook is, or which plaza is Holly Plaza, which plaza is Garibaldi Plaza. And this solves that solution, and the agency was very supportive of this endeavor to make that happen.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can't see if anyone else is online with a question. With a hand. Okay, Coral, come on back.
Oh, I just wonder whether you all have considered doing this exact signage on the pavement And the reason I say that is because Scrabble lends itself to interactive play, almost like a tic-tac-toe thing on the ground, which could be a lot of fun for people. And it might, be something that would be even more
What is wrong
engaging
with her?
and also not be as maybe as distracting from the historical, lights, etc., but achieve the same goal.
It's a good question, Coral. We try to limit things installed on the pavement, period. Most of them would be a vinyl or other type of adhesive, which can be damaging to the underlying hex pavers and also cause slip conditions in certain circumstances. And also, with these being on light poles, they are temporary, and if they are damaged or destroyed, they can easily be replaced or repaired, whereas like vinyl adhesives, or other treatments that are more on the pavement aren't as easy for a direct fix.
You sure have a lot of answers to questions. I can't see any other hands raised because I can't see the screen. Is there anyone else? Okay, all right, yes. Yes, Catherine, come back. Catherine? You have the ability to unmute yourself.
You can hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm wondering when the Landmarks Preservation Commission meeting is.
I don't know yet because we have not started that process. We wanted to go step by step.
Okay,
And
appreciate
if she's
that.
interested in knowing when it will be, how would she find that out?
I believe that information is publicly posted, as are their agendas when a project is added to their agenda.
And we can ask Mark to put it up.
NYC.gov/landmarks, Catherine Willis, saying
Okay.
that's where it will be posted. Hold on, Valerie has a question.
So on this part, you are looking for some sort of support from this committee for the rebrand, but not specifically to the signage.
Well, to the purpose of the signage in the park, because the rest of the rebrand is for a private nonprofit. Like, it doesn't really touch the park.
Okay. Right.
Yeah,
But
so-
I'm just concerned that this committee has one opinion about the signage, this being in a historic district, and then if it ends up getting calendared to not just be a staff level approval at LPC, that there could be two dueling positions of this board. So we should discuss in business session.
Got it.
Great. Anyone else? Because as again, I can't see.
So it seems to me that there's kind of two parts. One is, does LPC approve of the individual sign, the aesthetic of the individual sign? And then are they aware of the quantity of signs?
Correct. Well, yes, at that time, they would be aware of the quantity of signs. I think we'll have to submit every execution in the map.
So how many do you think there are?
Of the entrance adjacent signs, it would be 20, because there'd be one on each side of each entrance
Of
of the
each
park.
gate, on the gate?
Correct. And then the plaza signs are variable. I believe the number is 18, but I can go back and check. It's really depending on the size of the plaza. We would intend to do one or two per plaza, but that's also up for discussion. Like it's a modular sign system. That's one of the reasons as an administrator that I like it.
So 16 by 24 signs,
I believe so. I can go double check the measurements and
Okay.
send those in.
more or less.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move on to the next Washington Square Park subject, which is dogs off leash and other policies and the dog run synthetic surface upgrade project.
Yeah. Do we want to do, the slide is up.
Yeah, let's talk about the revamp of the
Okay.
dog run.
Great. So the Washington Square Park Conservancy has taken a greater role in the stewardship of the dog runs. When the Dog Run Association folded in back in 2024. And by far and away, the biggest requests the organization has received has been to essentially upgrade the gravel to a different solution that doesn't make your dog dirty every time you visit the park. which for us as a cost-effective solution would be synthetic turf. And so we are working with a wonderful vendor who actually did the play hills right across the park path from the dog runs to propose a synthetic turf upgrade to both of the dog runs in Washington Square Park. There's a quick rendering right there, but this is really a replacement in kind of the, it's literally just taking the gravel, not even removing it, making it nice and flush, grading it, and then putting a backing and material down, and then having the synthetic turf live on top of that. Very similar to what it's actually the same thing that the play hills are constructed out of, just a different shape. And all of the existing furniture, literally everything else stays exactly the same.
So is it cleaner to have this surface?
It is. The maintenance costs of the gravel are pretty steep. We have to get both runs tilled twice a year, add deodorizer, and then we have a small army of volunteers that maintain those runs on a daily basis. Synthetic turf has proven to be easier and simpler to clean on a regular basis without the need to do an entire retilling effort twice annually.
How often does that surface get cleaned? As when it's turf, how often will it be cleaned? What's that process?
We would have the ability to spot clean any day, and then we would look to essentially take the funds that have been used for that biannual tilling and put it towards professional cleanings, whether it's quarterly, bi-monthly. We would fine tune it until it's looking and smelling great.
Does anyone have any questions on the dog runs? Not off leash, but on the dog runs. Anyone on the committee? Anyone on Zoom? No. Yes. Why don't you take a microphone? Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a suggestion because I have experience with dog runs and synthetic. It's really important.
Just come a little bit closer to the mic.
It's very important to consider maybe even a sprinkler system, some way to help you really clean. It makes it so much more efficient. So just a thought.
100%. And we have hose connections already in each run. I'm hoping if my plumbers or if the park's plumbers are able to make it happen to add a second one for the large dog run, but we do have hoses there already with Y splitters. So there would be hoses available to go across the whole length and refill any bottles that would be there to
So does that
use
mean that
sprays.
people with dogs can also use them? Can you pick it up and use it, or is it
They
just
already
the staff?
do. Oh, no. Anyone who comes to those runs, those hoses can be used when the water is on. And that would continue.
And when is this going to happen is a question on the chat.
Yeah, well, we're in the process of fundraising for it, just to gauge level of interest. If we're able to hit our internal goal, then we would turn around and start to publicly fundraise for it as well to get it across the finish line. I'd love to get it done, by the summer, but it too would have to go in front of LPC. Because it is an upgrade, and that one we have spoken to them about, and they are they're interested in having that one at the board level.
At the board level?
Yeah.
At their level?
At their level.
Not at the CB level. And also, what is the anticipated cost of it?
$161,000.
Anybody have any other questions about Mark? Yes. Okay, well, let's start with Pete, and then we'll go to Catherine. Pete?
Yes, is there anything, documents, anything you've published that would describe the material in depth with, with real ingredients, et cetera, for the product you're talking about?
Not the Conservancy, but the vendor that we're using, Sinlawn, has all of their materials available on their website. We would be using the pet-friendly option, which you can look up there, and we really like the product because it's a stitch and a stitch method and backing method, which doesn't have any of the rubber infill.
Can you just repeat slowly the name of that
Sure,
company?
Sinlawn, S-Y-N-L-A-W-N.
L-A-W-N.
Could you put that in the chat, please? So folks can.
Okay, Mark will put that in the chat. And
do you
Catherine,
have it?
was there, Pete, is there anything else? Okay. Catherine, did you have a comment you wanted to say on this topic?
She may just have her hand up still. But Shirley has her hand up still.
Okay. I see. I can't. I have to apologize
I'm
because I
helping,
can't
I'm
see
helping.
anybody's hands,
Yeah, I
and
know.
I'm too far away from a screen.
Why don't we call on Shirley and
But
then?
I guess the first question, because
Okay.
let's go to Shirley, and then Catherine, if you're still there, because we didn't hear you respond, we'll come back to you. Shirley Skanda?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I hear in and out. Okay, how about, are there examples, Will, that you can share with us that are being used right now for dog runs in the city?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh dear.
Mark, are you able to hear the question?
Examples of this technique being used in other dog runs in the city.
Oh, yes, there are many
The
examples.
question is, are there examples of this product being used elsewhere?
Yes, Madison Square Park, Domino Park in Brooklyn, I believe Hudson River Park has synthetic turf at one of their dog runs. There's a number of them throughout town. I believe Carl Schurz Park just redid theirs. Tompkins Square Park is looking to redo theirs. And their small dog run has already been turfed. So there are examples around town.
Yeah, okay, and a follow-up. Have they been used for quite a while? How long are they in use?
Yes, have they been used for quite a while, right, Shirley? I know in the case of Domino Park and the Tompkins Square Park Small Dog Run, they've been used for a number of years and haven't really had any major issues. And I take solace in the fact of our own play hills as well, which are made out of the same material and have held. That's still the original covering from for going on 15 years. Since that was put in. So we've only had small patching work needed there. So I'm very confident in the product.
Yeah, and the dogs seem to like it.
Anecdotally, the dogs seem to love it.
The dogs.
Good question.
They would have come to the meeting, but they were napping. And Valerie pointed out that Therese Flores put the website of Sinlon into the chat, Pete. Catherine, are you there?
There was one other question in the chat. Can I pose it?
Yeah, sorry.
Somebody asked, Ayuna Choi asks, turf tends to get very hot in direct sunlight. Is this a concern?
That's a great question. We do, and I think it's in the rendering, we are very fortunate to have tree coverage over the vast majority, if not the entirety of the small dog run and a good portion of the large dog run. We have thought about it in other runs, like I believe Union Square, they've deployed like umbrellas if it gets really hot out. Their run is concrete, not synthetic turf, but same concern. And we could look to do the same if that were to become an issue, and also the presence of the hoses with the nozzles, whether it's a volunteer or a dog run user themselves, if something's looking particularly hot, it can be cooled down pretty immediately.
Mark? Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Catherine and
Yes, I'm
Pete.
here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Thank
Catherine,
you.
you are here. Okay.
I am.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was then muted again, but or I thought I was muted. Anyway, so I just had a question about. I think Pete mentioned this also. Just and when I first read the CB2 Parks Committee email about this meeting, I do think it's not clear. All it said was upcoming rebrand and in-park executions. And I didn't really say, I'm going to come back to the dogs, sorry, but I just saw that Pete had said something in the chat about this. And I do think that that was not clear. And if you wanted some people to come to comment on this issue about signage, many huge signs in the park, that needed to be clearer for people to comment on it, because people might have thoughts on this, but upcoming rebrand and in-park executions, one line, which is in marketing speak, is not really clear to people. And I don't really think that's fair if you want to give people a chance to comment on topics. So I know you guys work really hard. I'm not taking away from that as a committee, but I do think it really has to be clearer. And if you had said about signage in the park or blah, 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 whatever it would be, 20 signs or 30 signs, whatever it ends up being, that it's later going to come before the Landmarks Preservation Committee, that actually changes the dynamic very much. And I do think you have a responsibility to alert the community to what this means. I mean, this is huge, the amount of signage they are planning to put there. But anyway, as far as the dog run, so I hope you'll just take that into account, just for what it's worth. But I mean, I think it's important. So, the synthetic turf, is controversial. It has been for a long time. And I know that I don't know 100% what the alternatives are, but, it is something, hopefully the kids that are playing on the former mounds are fine, but it is something that should be taken seriously. I'm not saying that it's not being taken seriously, but, just as far as we don't want dogs to get sick, we don't want kids to get sick, and just, to just be, as cautious as possible with what these materials are. So, thank you.
Can I
Great,
comment
thank you.
on-
But it does raise a
can I-
question. What do we know about the safest material?
It's proven to be quite safe. It's used in a number of dog runs throughout the park, let alone playgrounds and sporting facilities and active play fields. I know there is some controversy around it. Our options are to stick with the status quo, which is quite difficult. Well, not just because of that, but the actual screening that it's made out of doesn't exist anymore. It's not made anymore. So the last refill we did 3 years ago, which was the first one in a decade, won't be able to happen again. So we'd have to switch the stone screening anyways, which I really wouldn't like to do. And then the other option is concrete. That's the other modern one. The price tag on a concrete project and the scope and scale of that is much, much larger than a synthetic turf renovation, because you'd be talking about like bringing in cement trucks to the park, deconstructing the entire perimeter fence, so on and so forth. Whereas the Sinlawn vendors said they'd be able to install this essentially in situ. There'd be like 2 vans. So it's a happy medium.
Thank you. Rich, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it was just, I think, and correct me if I misheard you, you said that this has no pellets in it. Is that correct? It's no rubber pellets?
Correct.
And I believe that the concern in the past on synthetic fields, the safety of them has been about the pellets.
Correct. As a born and raised New Yorker who used to play on those soccer fields and get the rubber in my cuts, from slide tackling people in soccer. That's the concern, and that's why that's not a part of this project.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? There are 2 other people. Okay, Federica is helping me actually see people now. Well, Catherine and Pete, I presume that those are old hands, or have you raised your hands again?
No, I just have a quick one.
Yes.
This is going to connect in with the next conversation, but I'm curious, and I put this in the chat, of the area, the size of the space in square feet that is being proposed to be covered with artificial turf within Washington Square Park.
So I think you're asking what the total size of the 2 dog runs is.
Right, and I believe it's 4,952, if I'm remembering that. I've done that calculation, but it's all of the area inside of the existing fenced dog runs, minus any area that currently has a concrete footing, of which includes all of the entrances going back about 5 feet into each runs, and any areas around where the hose hookups or the water fountains or features are in each run.
Great, thank you.
Is that good, Pete? Great.
Yep,
Now our computer's making a funny noise, but we're just going to ignore that. Okay. I think we can move on unless there are any other questions about the resurfacing of the dog run. We're going to move on to the question of off-leash hours. I don't know what that sound is. Okay. Before we ask Will about the rules about off-leash hours for dogs, I think that there are people here who are advocating for there to be off-leash hours. And so I wanted to invite you guys to come and speak. So you can raise your hands. I know that Donna came up early. Okay, why don't you come up to the microphone so that we can hear you well and hear you?
What's that?
Oh, yeah, let's take down the slide.
Like an image?
You need it? You don't need the slide,
No,
do you?
no,
No, let's take down the slide.
Yeah, I'm really quite excited about this because it's very, very near and dear to me. So at this point in time, I'd like to say a few things. The dog crew, we have maybe over 30 people who use the northwest corner at the moment, northwest lawn in Washington Square Park in the early morning as an off-leash area. We are breaking the rules, we know it. However, we have been there through the fentanyl thing. So we have been keeping people in the park, and I think made the park safer because we were there. So that's just one call out. What I'd like to advocate is just for everyone to consider an alternate off-leash option other than a dog run. I think if we do our research, open space reduces pressure. Choice creates calm, and routine promotes safety. So certain dogs do not work as well in dog runs. So at this point, I would just like to ask whoever it is, maybe the parks people, to consider not ticketing those people who use the lawn during the morning hours, like from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., which is kind of what we've been doing for many, many years already. And if that part of Washington Square Park is not the place, then maybe someone can suggest a similar alternate place that we can use for off-leash areas. And again, as a designated time frame between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Okay.
And off-leash. That's what I'm advocating for.
Thank you. And did you want to speak as well?
Yeah, I did. My name is Hope Lappin. I am oh, sorry. I actually was under the impression that I was going to get to show slides, so I apologize, but I'm gonna kind of try to describe them. I think that the major thing that we need to consider is just how many dogs are in this neighborhood and how much space there actually is for them. I have several slides here that show, and we will send these to you guys so you have them.
That would be great.
But they demonstrate that there are significantly more dogs per household in this area, per area of the district in this area, and per area of dog run available to us in this district, compared to anywhere else in, especially Manhattan in particular, except for the last part with regards to dog runs. The Upper East Side has more dogs per dog area space. However, they also have all of Central Park. There are, let me see if I can find the slide with the numbers.
I'm sorry about this.
But there are 67 official off-leash areas where there's temporary hours where people can have their dogs run off-leash in New York City. There are only 3 of them in Manhattan, and none of them are below Central Park. There are several places that we know of in Battery Park, near the Seaport, Riverside Park, where there are unofficial off-leash hours that have been tolerated for a very long period of time. This is, regardless of whether it happens in Washington Square Park, it was something that really needs to be addressed somehow, that there needs to be more space for the dogs. And I realize that there's not a lot of space in this area of Manhattan, which is why this is probably such a problem, which suggests that this idea of having specific off-leash hours, which would allow people to share that space. So while we have off-leash hours in the early mornings before work, when those areas are typically not being used for other purposes. If we're not there, nobody is in that field from 7 to 9 a.m. We understand that, like, then at other times of the day, other people would be able to use those spaces for other reasons. We also understand that there are issues that people are going to, like, that are very obvious, like picking up after your dog. And are people doing that? Are people ruining the grass? Are they digging holes? One thing I would say is all of these things are things that can happen when somebody has their dog on leash. So that's not really a question of off leash or on leash. But also we have a very tight-knit group, and we are pretty good about policing each other when it comes to things like digging holes, when it comes to things like picking up after the dogs. And we are also willing to work with any groups to talk about ways that we could more formally patrol kind of like these issues, and also give back to these areas and make sure that they are being cared for properly. So that is all kind of what we wanted to talk about. I also do just want to mention that the parks itself, the Parks Department itself, has, you know, talked about this particular issue in saying that they, off-leash hours, they give the opportunity for, they keep neighborhoods safe, they allow owners to exercise and socialize their dogs, and reduce the number of dog bites. They say, this quote that I have here is a tired dog is a good dog, and for the last 2 decades, this was from when Central Park had off-leash hours, the policy has made parks safer and has allowed dog owners to exercise and socialize their pets. You know, we're very happy to hear about the dog run. If I go in there during the day or on sunny mornings in the summer, I can't breathe for the rest of the day. I keep coughing because of the dust. So it's nice to hear there'll be a change. But if everyone who owned a dog and wanted to exercise their dog in this neighborhood went to that dog run between 7 and 9 a.m., there would be fights, and it would be really problematic. And that's a big part of the reason why we are in this other area of the park in the mornings. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for both of you for coming so well prepared and having such clear remarks. Is there anyone else who wants to comment on the dog run right now? I have just a question for me. What is the essential difference for you between off-leash hours in an open space and off-leash hours in an enclosed space like a dog run? What's the material difference? Yeah, you can answer that, but you should get to a microphone.
Okay, so one of the biggest issues is just that dogs don't feel safe a lot of the times when they're enclosed. They also oftentimes don't feel safe on leashes, and that's why their training is so important. And also one of the big important things is socialization, which is, you know, one of the great things that has, you know, a lot of dogs have benefited from this off-leash space where they get to know that dogs are actually not scary because they're actually able to meet them in a place that's less scary for them naturally. And so they can actually be trained to be less reactive to them. But yeah, if you take a bunch of dogs that are, and you put them into this enclosed space with lots of smells, they smell not only the dogs there at that time, they also smell dogs that were there all day. They can get very anxious. My dog in particular, he gets anxious. He just spends all his time sniffing. He doesn't play at all. I will even tell you an anecdote. There was a dog that he would meet on leash all the time. He hates him. Hated him. He would lose his mind when he saw him. And all we had to do was have them meet each other off leash in that field where there was more space. They were able to feel like if they needed to move away, he met him again in that space, and he still didn't really like him at first, but he just, instead of barking and going crazy, he just moved away to the other part of the field, and we walked over there, and over time he got used to it, and now they play all the time. And there's a lot of dogs that are just so fearful, they maybe aren't going to be reactive, but they'll be really fearful and they won't play, they won't get any exercise, they just get anxious. And so there is quite a lot of evidence around the need for more space for dogs to feel secure and feel like they can escape a situation in which they feel like they're in danger.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. Any other comments? If not, I think we'll ask, yeah, Mark.
Question from Cheryl.
Huh? Can I talk?
Okay, let's do that, and then we're going to go to Will with some explanations. So, Shirley, you want to go ahead?
Oh, sure. I have a question again. Actually, two-part. You had mentioned that there were two parks in Manhattan, Battery Park and Riverside Park. Did you say there was another park that was off-leash, that had an off-leash area?
Oh, what are the three parks in Manhattan that have off-leash hours?
Yeah.
Oh, Prospect Park in Brooklyn.
Oh, Prospect, Brooklyn.
You said Carl Schurz? No.
Yeah.
Randall Island, Dickman, way up,
Dickman,
and then Central Park.
Those are the three parks in the city? Okay.
Oh, Central Park as well, and Battery and Riverside, right?
Yeah. Wait,
And
Shirley,
did you say something about Dickman? Dickman Street, I know. No, okay. Thank you.
Shirley, can you repeat your question or your comment?
She's asking which parks allow off leash.
That question was just answered.
That was the question.
We know of Riverside.
Yeah,
Riverside Park,
mentioned
not
several,
Riverside,
yeah,
Central
Riverside,
Park, Dyckman, and
Randall Island.
Randall's Island.
Those are the official ones. There are a few places where it's been tolerated, and we've known of people running off leash or having their dogs off leash in the mornings for a long period of time. Those are different, though.
Great, thank you. Did you have another question, Shirley?
No, that was it. Thank you very much.
Okay. And
Coral has a question.
Who else has a hand
Coral.
up? Coral, go ahead.
I have a question for the Conservancy. I'd like to understand the experience of the Conservancy in terms of encountering dog owners not picking up poop in the park. And if that area is in fact being well tended and not degrading the area by people leaving dog poop, which would obviously impact other use.
Well, I think that we want to turn this to Will, and that's a good question for Will to answer. Let me just see if there are other more questions and comments before we turn it to Will. So your question, Coral, is what is the state of the field where the people have been running their dogs off?
And actually the entire park, that field and the entire park.
In that field and the entire park, yeah. Done.
Yeah,
Just to be clear,
basically,
though.
what kind of resources is it taking to pick up after dog owners that are not being responsible with their dogs?
Okay, we'll address that. We'll address that. What were you going to say, Don?
To be clear, though, dogs on leash are allowed in the park. So it'd be
Yeah,
very
there's just dog owners in
difficult to
general being
distinguish
responsible.
leash dogs pooping versus off-leash dogs pooping. So,
Okay.
I mean,
I'm asking just to
That's helpful.
determine the cost of picking it up.
All right,
That's all.
Peter DeSimone, let's ask you to speak.
Hi.
I just want to say that at this point in the meeting, while we're taking a lot of public comment, I'm not going to be looking at the chat. If anyone has comments that they'd like to make, I encourage you guys to write to us. We will look at everything that we get, and we'll have a certain amount of question and comment time now, but I won't be looking at the chat. So Peter, who? Sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. So I'm in the park every morning, and dogs off leash are a big nuisance for me, and not only me, for people who jog, for people with other dogs on leash who are these dogs are very timid. They don't like dogs approaching them. And that's a huge headache, a nuisance for the dog owners. There are also joggers. There's also the poop issue. You know, someone on their phone, looking at their phone, when the dog is 35 feet away, they're less prone to pick up the poop. Okay, not every dog is like these women's dogs who spoke. I'm sure their dogs are very nice, but not all dogs are like a lot of dogs are aggressive, and you're not going to vet every dog that goes into that park. Why aren't the enforcement laws or the rules of the park, why aren't they enforced more? I don't understand. Pep rarely does the job. Pep is rarely out there giving tickets. They'll blow the horn, they'll blow the whistle, which is nice. Once in a while, it works, great. And I know you have signs on the lawn. That has made a pretty big difference, but the issue is still very bad. The wildlife in that park, I know birders who go there. They can't go to the park anymore. The hummingbirds that will be coming through in a month because the dogs chase them away. They harass the wildlife at every chance they get. These dog owners, they sick the dogs on the squirrels and on the birds. I've seen it. So let's not over romanticize how lovely dogs are. So my question is basically, after all that, why isn't there more enforcement of the off-leash hours? We already have two dog runs. That should be enough. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Sorry, Donna, we're not going to do a back and forth. We'll ask Bill to address these questions. Is there anyone else who wanted to ask a question? Yes, Chris Dignas.
I'll add on to...
Or make a comment.
Yeah, it's a sort of a different segment, but it's sort of going to potentially be a real transition for you here, where if I'm remembering correctly, a lot of the advocacy that Central Park does on this front is that they have a large amount of space and that the open run is particularly far away from streets. And can you potentially, if we're finishing up comments, speak to that and why is Washington Square Park different from Central Park in the distance from streets aspect?
Okay, I think that is a good segue, and we'll ask Will to address all this. So you've heard the commentary from people, from dog owners, and there's some question about the condition of areas in the park, both those that are used by the dog owners and not, and also the question about enforcement of existing rules.
I will try to answer every question. So to start with the segue, Washington Square Park is 9.75 acres. Central Park is 800. There is not really, the furthest away you can get from the street is standing right on top of the fountain. So which is not, nearly as far as you can get away from the street in Central Park. But let's talk about the lay of the land, and I appreciate Peter's highlighting what I would have highlighted had he not spoken up about it, but there are lots of different people that use the park in the early morning hours. There are folks who have dogs, but there are lots of other communities that do not, such as runners, walkers, joggers, birders, kids, college students walking to class, my own parks operations team that's trying to clean up whatever's there the night before. And I will just say as an aside to Coral's question, and to one of the speakers, that it is true, dogs are allowed on leash anywhere in the park, except in our planted beds that are nicely fenced off, anytime. And so we don't cost out the amount of times a parks employee bends down and picks up a specific item. If we did that at Washington Square Park, I wouldn't be able to get out of the office to do much else. So we'll pick up the poop wherever it may land. That said, I think it's no secret that particularly during these recent snowstorms, there's been an uptick for some reason in poop that's not getting picked up, and that has been affecting us as well. I don't really know why they're correlated, but that's not why I'm here to talk. Going back to really the core of the issue here, Washington Square Park, as I said, 9.75 acres. I believe one of the speakers mentioned that it is a small amount of space that, to finish that statement, has to balance a lot of competing uses all the time. I've presented at this forum alone on, pickleball, protests, music, you name it. Everything. Everyone wants to do everything in Washington Square Park, and I love that. That's one of the things that makes the park so amazing. There are only two constituencies that have dedicated use spaces in the entire park. They are children and dog owners. There are 3 playgrounds, 2 gated, one ungated in the park, the Play Hills, and there are 2 beautiful, wonderful dog runs that hopefully will have synthetic turf this year. But beyond that, there really, if a park has dog runs already, there is no way to have off-leash hours. That is the Parks Department policy. In all of the official cases mentioned, Randall's Island and Central Park, and I forget the third one, Dykeman. Those areas don't have dog runs within them, so they've chosen the off-leash option. Where there are dog runs, there are not also off-leash hours, and for the reasons Peter mentioned, not all dogs are the same. There are many wonderful dogs. I have a dog; he's great. But that's not the case broadly, and we can't assume that the rest of the people that visit the park in the morning are the folks that are being put out there for these dogs to become socialized on without their consent, right? Like just a person trying to get from point A to point B, going through the park, did not come to the park so that they could have some dog test whether they're socialized or not on that person. That's just a use case of this logic. We have to think about kids walking through the park, whether they're college students or parents with young kids trying to get them off to school in the morning. And so it's, for all of those reasons and others, if there are dog runs in a park, there will not be off-leash hours. That is the policy. When it comes to Peter's question on enforcement, the signage, thank you. I'm glad that you're seeing it make an impact. Parks enforcement, it is at the officer's jurisdiction to enforce conditions that they see if they are present. We are very fortunate to have fixed post officers in Washington Square Park. It's one of the things the Conservancy financially supports at the park, but they are on tours that don't start right when this condition starts each morning. So when you're seeing the enforcement, it's happening towards the beginning of their day and towards the end of this window between 7 and 9 when Parks enforcement is really present. It is a goal of the agency and of the Conservancy to partner on right-sizing the Parks enforcement contingent for the park for this issue, among others. And when you see the whistles and the bullhorns, that's actually a specific dog detail that Parks enforcement puts together that doesn't just go to Washington Square Park, but visits a bunch of parks south of 42nd Street, because that's just how they're split out each morning. I think,
lots of information.
I think I've answered every question.
I think so. Does anyone want to make a last? Yes, why don't you come up?
I object to the core issue that you stated. The core issue is that there is not enough space. My name is Thania Benyos. The core issue is that there's not enough space for the number of dogs in this neighborhood. We have mentioned over and over again that this is the core issue. So what are you going to do about it? Because that is your job, to address it.
Well, thank you. Just to be very clear, my jurisdiction is only Washington Square Park, so that is my responsibility. That said, when it comes to the broader issue of space for dogs in Lower Manhattan, frankly, I agree. There should be more opportunities, and really one of the chief ways the public can advocate for whether it's a dog run or a pickleball court or a skate park or any number of amenities is when there are presentations that usually, I believe, come before this committee on new park projects. And Parks itself holds capital visiting sessions every time there's a capital project proposed. You can attend those sessions and say, I would like to see a dog run as part of this capital project. And you can bring folks, similarly to what's happened tonight, to do so. But that's the main mechanism for new space.
And kudos to Lim Pacifico, who has been advocating for dog runs since I've been on this board. Yeah. But what if people want to write in the interim? They don't want to wait for the next hearing. Is there someplace that you might recommend they write to?
Absolutely. I mean, whether it's a 311, a correspondence to the commissioner's office, correspondence to the mayor's office, your elected officials, all of those channels are always open for communicating about this issue and your desire as a constituent to have more space for unleashed dogs in your neighborhood. I mean, that That's always there.
Will, what about anecdotes we've heard about kind of not uniform application of the rules when people are given really large fines? Or emotion-based fines, let's call it.
Interesting. All I can go by is what's in the book. So like in the rule book. So if the officers have discretion to educate or issue summonses when they see a condition and are correcting it. If they know someone, there are different categories of fines and different levels of those fines. So if it's a second offense or more, there's a different dollar value associated with that fine. And there are also fines not just for the condition of having a dog off leash, but failure to comply with an officer's directive, which might be where some of that is coming from. And again, each of those have tiers of fines. But it's all at the discretion of the officers every day as they see it when they are out enforcing those conditions.
Great. Is there anybody else online? I see hands up, but I don't know if those are old. Pete Davies.
Yeah, I'm hoping you can let us know the square footage of the area that is being asked to be off leash.
Pete, I don't know the square footage of that one off the top of my head, but it is easily, we call it the Great Lawn of Washington Square Park. It's the biggest lawn in the park. If I had to ballpark it, it's roughly twice the size of the large dog run, maybe between 2 and 3 times. But you can actually go online and view that square footage information, I believe, on the park's tree canopy map.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, Yuna Choi, would you like to speak? Oh, wait, sorry, I have to, oh yeah, wait. Let me just make sure, ask to unmute. Oh, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I've been coming to these meetings. I've sat down with Will at one point. This has been an issue that really kind of derived from back during COVID, when for a very brief period of time, the dog runs were closed for safety reasons. And at that time, the dog owners migrated to that large field on the northwest corner. And it's just kind of organically evolved from there. And what we've noticed is that in the years that we've been on that lawn, we really haven't had any issues. I don't know if Will would object to that characterization, but in terms of just safety and complaints, other than the type that Mr. Davies has, we haven't really had any sort of confrontations or injuries or fights or anything of that nature. Now, we're not asking to take over the entire park, but that one little area for 2 hours doesn't seem to be unreasonable, particularly since 67 other parks in the city allow off-leash hours, and yet why aren't we hearing about these complaints in those areas? It never seems to come up. Or is Washington Square Park the only place where the dogs chase after squirrels or may interfere with runners, which has never happened, by the way, or anything else? Or is poop not an issue in those other parks? This is the thing that I don't understand, why Washington Square Park in particular is prone to all of these horrible issues that the 67 other parks are not.
Yuna, I unfortunately do have to differ in there being no incidents in the park. A lot more complaints come to me and are handled, by the Parks Department and the inbox internally than get written about in the news. And I get regular complaints, particularly from birders, folks that are senior citizens and folks with kids, about why are there so many off-leash dogs every morning in the park.
But is it fair to say also that
those aren't actual incidents, right, Will? Those aren't actual confrontations or incidents. They're just people who observe the dogs and don't like it.
Incidents and confrontations. Ambulances have been called in the early morning for this topic. The birding community has their own sets of data to prove that the amount of birds that are coming to the park has declined since this issue has become prevalent at the park. And to the larger point about the 67 other parks, I think it's apparent through this meeting and others that a lot of people care about Washington Square Park very much. This is a very vocal community, and we hear about every issue, big or small, anecdotally a lot more than my fellow administrators who manage other parks in the city. It's just this is a beloved park by all who visit it for their own reasons, and they fight hard for their little slice of the park. And that
Wait, I want to, before we get to, thank you. I just want to, it's fair to say though, Will, that the policies that you've described have nothing to do whether there are complaints or aren't complaints. I mean, we don't have to sit there and discuss whether there have been incidents or have not been incidents.
Yes.
We trust that all the dog owners are responsible. They love their community. They love their dogs. But what you're reciting is that there are just policies that are parks wide, and the reasons behind them may have to do with the kinds of issues that people have brought up, whether they actually happen or not.
That is very well said, Susanna. Yes, it is entirely infrastructure based and policy based.
Great. We have Shirley Secunda. And Rich. Oh, Rich.
Shirley. Before me.
Oh.
Rich Cacapola has also got his hand raised before me.
All right, Rich, go ahead.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. Just for context, Will, can you tell us what other activities take place on the Great Lawn? What do people do on the Great Lawn?
Well, yeah, people have passive play on that lawn all the time. People picnic on it. As I mentioned, people bird on it. People gather for acoustic music on it. People use it for all sorts of eating, drinking, merriment, and we also use it as a and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Monty, who sunbathes on it almost every day when the weather's warm enough, and we use it as well for operational purposes for our leaf litter bin each fall. Those are just some.
Thank you.
Shirley, go ahead, and then I would love to get moving with this. So let's see, Shirley, go ahead.
I'm just a little confused about the numbers of these parks, off-leash parks. I wonder, Will, if you have any figures on this. The young lady that just spoke talked about 67 off-leash parks, but then previously that had been established, I think it was about 6 parks were named as the only off-leash parks. So which is it, or is it something in between? Very confusing.
Shirley, I don't know the 6 parks by heart, so I don't want to misspeak, but I can get that information and give it to you.
They just said it. I mean, I have the names. I wrote them down.
Oh, okay.
That's not the point. What about the 67? Are there 67? Are we wrong with the first information we got? I'd like to see that clarified.
That I don't know. I believe this person's raised their hand.
I'm sure somebody can put it into the chat, but it's on the city council website. It's a list of all of the dog runs and off-leash areas in New York City and by borough. As I said, only 3 of these are in Manhattan. The rest are in the other boroughs.
Thank you. We're going to take one last comment, Catherine, and then we're going to move on to our next agenda topic.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to make a comment. I'm so appreciative and I love animals so much. But anyway, I just am a little concerned that, like, listening to how much time was devoted to this and that not time given at all when the Washington Square Park Conservancy was given a license agreement in January of last year, and then you came before you in June of last year just saying this was already a fait accompli, when your own resolution in June of 2013 said that the organization would not be given a license agreement. So I'm just a little like baffled by why, how that happened, why that did not come before you, at least to have public comment to, as far as this group this private group being given a license agreement, and now they're trying to put signage all over. So I know that maybe I don't know, maybe you're rolling your eyes, but it is important because this is a public park. The community deserves a chance to comment on these aspects. And and it's just being like, I mean, I love dogs, I love cats, but like dogs are being given more time than the park itself, which is such an important park, which I know and I know you guys all work really hard. But I hope you will, in the future, I don't know how to rectify what has come before, will think more carefully about how you do this. And a private organization is always going to have another agenda. I know you're probably going to roll your eyes about that too, but that is the case. And a million signs in the park is not the way to go. And please, I don't even know how you let the license agreement get by without, and I came before the full board and nobody cared. And that was really sad to me. But I hope you will kind of just think about some of these things. I know you work hard. I'm not disputing that. But I've written my blog for 18 years. And so I know everything about this park. Pretty much. So I just hope you can just be more cautious about this park because it's so important. And once you let commercialized private interests get doing backroom deals, everything changes. So anyway.
Thank you, Catherine. I just want you to know I'm not rolling my eyes at you.
Thank
you. And I know that you also put in a lot of work in coming to these meetings. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to move on from Washington Square Park and go to the Hudson Square bid and talk about a design proposal for that. You're all welcome to stay for that topic. And if you'd like to leave, no one will be offended. So I am
set up.
Yeah, well, right, you need to set up, and Will, you can go. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for coming and for preparing your comments so well and clearly.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So while we're
agreed. Well said.
transitioning for them to come up here, I will address that if the signage in Washington Square Park, if it is a signage master plan, it is in a historic district, it will be referred from LPC to the CB2 Landmarks Committee, where a full application with the placement of signs and size and all of that would be under the purview of the CB2 Landmarks Committee with a full set of materials for the public and that committee to review and comment on.
And Catherine, I hope you heard that because that might be of interest to you.
Yes, thank you.
So just follow our Landmarks Committee schedule calendar. Not
I
just
will.
our-
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Come to the microphone.
Sorry, I didn't want to step on
No, go ahead.
the
Go ahead.
Washington Square Dog Park, but I had something else regarding dogs.
Okay.
I don't know. I've given you the presentation. I don't know. I know
I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I can hold on to it. But is there something you want to say?
No, I just wanted to know if you guys have a chance to look at it, maybe we could have a conversation. We're working on a petition as well, just converting some existing parkland, an old unused basketball court, and kind of pivoting and piggybacking on the conversation.
Is your contact in here?
I will add it to there.
Yeah, add
Mark-
it to
Mark
it
has it as
because
well.
I can't really look
That's
at
okay.
it during the course of this
That's
meeting,
okay.
but we're happy
And I
to look
realize
at
you
it
guys
another
are
time.
overloaded. There was a lot
No,
going
no,
on,
we're
so-
good. We're good. Just maybe just write your name
I
here.
will.
Just,
Okay.
yeah, just curious, where was it in CB2, the other?
With the other,
Is it, yeah,
you
the
know what?
proposed space.
The Grand Street Courts, which is actually under construction right
Right.
now. Grand Canal. Sorry about that.
Grand Canal, yeah, okay, got it.
Also,
Thank
if you have this online, I mean, on a
There's
digital
actually
file.
a little QR code at the end that takes you to
la-di-da.
our
Okay.
petition. So
I just would love to send this digitally to the chair.
Sure.
to Rich.
We
So,
can, we
I'll
can
give
scan
you
it.
the-
I can scan it and send it around.
Okay, all
Okay,
right,
and I will
cool.
give you my.
But yeah,
contact.
Okay,
Grant Canal is yes, that's in CB2, and the pledge of the Parks Department or the city is to return it in the form that it was before it was taken. That is correct.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good? Yes, thanks for coming and for spending the time here. We're going to share the screen for the next presentation. Are you guys coming up? Do you need space up here? Do you want to talk from there? Yeah, you're going to come. Someone's going to come to a microphone. Or many people can have microphones if you'd like. Okay, so I'm very jealous of my microphone, so I'm going to give you Federica.
We have nervous breakdown. Are you famous?
Someone,
Thank you
Catherine,
so
Catherine, I
much.
think, no, someone needs to mute themselves.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Thank you
Okay,
for
take
joining
it
us
away. Introduce
tonight.
yourselves
I
and-
will. Thank you. Thank you for having us. My name is Clay Grable. I'm the Plaza Program Manager on NYC DOT's Public Realm team. Appreciate you having us. And for those who have joined online, thank you for being here this evening. I'm joined by our colleagues at the Hudson Square Bid to present a project that proposes pedestrianizing a block of Little 6th Avenue between Spring Street and Dominic Street, which we are calling Hudson Square Plaza. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Testing, there we go. Hi, I'm Jake McNally. I'm VP of Planning and Capital Projects at the Hudson Square Bid.
Hi, everyone. I'm Madhu. I'm the Associate Planner at Hudson Square Bid, and I work with Jake.
Also
Nice
know
to be
that that
here.
microphone on the stand is live as well. Oh, yes, you're using that.
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to mention that we also have a few other colleagues from the bid, Samara Karasik, our president, and Corey Coons, our SVP of operations. And
we also have Kyle Gorman from the Public Realm team as well. If you would hit the slide, please. Quick agenda for this presentation. I'll give an overview of the NYC Plaza program. Then we'll talk about the project's community engagement, existing conditions, design, proposed layout, maintenance responsibilities before heading on to the timeline, next steps, and questions. Slide, please. So the DOT's NYC Plaza program is a program that reclaims roadways from vehicle traffic and turns them into vibrant, pro-social public spaces for pedestrians. The Hudson Square Plaza project is a part of the NYC Plaza program. Typical pedestrian plazas feature furniture like tables and chairs, planters, other greenery, lighting, public art like ground murals and other fixtures. They also serve as venues for public programs throughout the year. Besides creating more public space, other goals of the Plaza program include increasing pedestrian safety and mobility, supporting local economic activity, and enhancing civic engagement. The Plaza program is an application-based program, open April 1 to June 30 every year. So if anyone has any ideas for other plazas they'd like to propose, we are open. And there are currently over 90 NYC Plaza program plazas across the 5 boroughs. If this project proceeds with the timeline we are proposing, this will be the newest one. Slide, please. So many of our plazas have a designated plaza partner organization, typically the organization that has proposed the plaza. In this case, Hudson Square Bid would be the plaza partner. One thing DOT asks of our partner organizations is that they program the plazas, they hold public programs in the space. We would like to note that plazas are public property and that other individuals and organizations are also welcome to obtain SAPO permits, street activity permitting office permits. They can hold other programs in the plaza as well. So while we are asking the bid to program the plaza, others may obtain permits and hold programs there as well. We'd also like to mention that DOT anticipates signing a concession agreement with the bid that will give the bid the ability to hold revenue-generating activities, aka buying and selling in the plaza, And one important thing to note about those activities is that 100% of the revenue generated there is required by DOT to be put back into the maintenance and operations of the plaza, the upkeep of the space. This allows the bid, this is one avenue that they can offset the costs associated with maintaining and programming the plaza, leaves that door open to them. And with that, I will hand it over to the bid for now.
Slide, please. Thank you. Okay, starting with a little bit of background information on our plaza project. We are talking about the one block of Little Sixth Avenue between Spring and Dominic Streets. This is, a very underutilized offshoot of Sixth Avenue. It's immediately adjacent to Spring Street Park, which is a park that the bid renovated in partnership with the Parks Department back in 2018. So we're really excited about the opportunity to expand on that open space. If you've been by Spring Street Park during the warm season, it's really packed during lunchtime. So there's a lot of existing demand for more open space there. It's also at the really the sort of signature gateway to the Hudson Square neighborhood coming from Soho. So a lot of foot traffic. We launched some open street programming when DOT started that program in 2020. This is free public programming that we've offered over the years, musical performances, pop-up art galleries, a draw cart. So there is history of activating the space. We applied to the DOT Plaza program in 2023. We're accepted in 2024. But then there was construction going on at the top of Spring Street Park with the new elevator and staircase for the Spring Street subway station. So we were a bit on hold until that was completed. That work wrapped up this past fall, which allowed us to really get started on the plaza development. Another key piece of background on this project is that there was a New York Forward, New York State grant process for the Hudson Square neighborhood that took place about a year ago, and this project received one of those grants. So there's almost $750,000 dedicated to this project. That's a really robust budget that's going to cover all of the furnishings and installation costs. Just to be clear, this project will be considered a temporary plaza build-out in terms of how DOT distinguishes between temporary plazas versus capital. So we won't be raising the roadway to sidewalk grade. It will be entirely closed to vehicular traffic once it becomes a plaza. And as we get into the design, you'll see one of our main efforts or one of our sort of key guiding principles in coming up with furnishings for the plaza was to keep them movable because there is an emergency vehicle lane that we'll have to maintain throughout a portion of the plaza. Slide, please. So we did a lot of community outreach this past fall into the early winter. Beyond the typical online survey, we really tried to get creative, particularly in trying to reach our student population. There's 3 high schools, either at the southern end of the block or just 1 block away. So our first effort was a couple of pop-up activities that we held at the end of October. We had one day that we're really targeting student hours. So we were out there right as school was coming, as the students were coming out of school. The second day was more sort of in the sweet spot of lunch when there's a lot of activity. You'll see in a second some of the activities that we held, but it was very successful. We had over 160 participants come out for that, even though it was pretty chilly, end of October. We also offered a student workshop to all of the 3 high schools. Chelsea Vocational High School took us up on that, and so we were able to go in and do this activity with 2 classes back to back. You'll see in a second, we came up with a very fun sort of game that we designed for them to really get them engaged. And then we also held a walkthrough of the space on November 20th, where we invited representatives of our elected officials, the community board, as well as the adjacent property owners and businesses. And we had about 20 people come out for that. And then our digital survey was open from, I can't see the dates here, it's covered, but I think it was October 7th through about mid-January, and we received over 200 responses to that as well. Slide, please. So now we're just going to do a quick sort of recap of what came in through our survey. You can see that We were successful in reaching the different audiences that use the space currently and sort of make up the surroundings of the area. So, 41% were workers, 35% lived nearby, 22% were students. The majority said that they use the space on a weekly basis. The majority also use it during the middle of the day, which is what we see from our observations of the space. And we started to ask what people would like to see in the space. So, the strongest demand was for more seating and more greening. Slide, please. We asked what kinds of furnishings people would like to see, and almost 2/3 were interested in more movable tables and chairs. Also, almost half of the people were interested in playful seating. So, an interesting variety. And you can see down the list here of how people responded to the other options that were provided. We also asked about activities. A lot of interest in food markets and other pop-up markets, and this is really in line with what we see through a lot of the surveys that we do. We did a neighborhood survey last year that got 2,700 responses, and pop-up food markets are by far the top preference. So this is something, as we think about the programming of the space, that we're starting to explore in terms of partners that might be able to help us create these experiences. Slide, please. And for our pop-up engagements, you can see the photos here of the activities that we came up with. We had jars where people were invited to toss colorful ping pong balls to vote for the different elements that you see here. And you can see how it was, fairly evenly spread across, a lot of interest across seating, public art, greening, shade, and programming. We also had our, what we called the What's Your Vibe board, where we invited people to place a sticker. It's hard to tell here, but there were two axes. Are people interested in a more social or a more quiet space, a more everyday spot, or more of a destination? And the vast majority of people said they were looking for an everyday spot, but there was this interesting divergence between students and residents and workers, between students wanting something more active, social, energetic, and residents in particular, but also workers wanting something a little more peaceful, a little more calming. So you'll see as we get into the design, given the linear nature of the block, we really felt like there is an opportunity here to try to create something for everyone in this space. Slide, please. You can see here just a couple of images from these workshops that we did with the students. So we designed a game for them where we broke them up into teams, and they had essentially menus of different design elements for a plaza with associated costs and sort of a breakdown of costs of benefits as well with these different elements. And they had to really prioritize and put together an order for the plaza. They also were given different stakeholder roles that they had to take on to really, try to sort of empathize and think about how, different people experience the space. So each team came up with their budget for the space, and we had them also design layouts on big printouts of the site plan. And it was very successful at engaging them. And you can see just some of the feedback that we got. Again, a lot of interest in a really active space, flexible. Every team wanted a colorful asphalt mural as sort of a defining feature of the space. And also interest in food vendors, local artists that might pop up on site. And also really thoughtful considerations about circulation and also the need to maintain the space.
An asphalt mural is on the ground, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Slide, please. And in addition to that broad outreach to the larger public, we also made sure that we were reaching out and having conversations with all of the adjacent property owners, ground floor businesses, as well as the schools. And you can see them all listed here. Slide, please. And parallel to all of that outreach, our planning team was also doing, over the course of the fall, a site analysis of the space and looking at existing conditions. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Madhu to walk us through that.
Thank you. So yeah, just really wanting to supplement all of these information and data we got from the community engagement. We did this site analysis to understand what the existing conditions were. Slide, please. We really got into understanding how the sun and shade really worked on the plaza. That helped us inform some of the furniture elements that we would choose, and also the layout where we would want to place the furniture. Okay, great. Okay, so the top takeaway from the sun and shade analysis was really that the midday, which is what Jake mentioned, was the peak use time for the plaza, was really getting a high exposure to sun, especially during the afternoon hours, and some of the northern part of the plaza also gets more sun exposure during the morning. And that was really helpful to understand how to design the layout. Slide, please. We also tried to understand how people really moved about the plaza. There was a lot of interest from students, from workers and residents, and we wanted to see how they actually use the park and the plaza currently. So on the left side, you would see how people move throughout the space. This is really helpful because as you design the plaza, we want to make sure that the furniture allows for movement around the plaza and also across as people use it currently. And there was a lot of movement across the plaza and lesser on the linear, trajectory of the plaza. We also understood that, how people stayed and dwelled in the plaza. For instance, students gathered before or after school, using them as social places in the southern portion of the plaza. And if you see more towards the mid-block, there were a lot of workers who had chance interactions or meeting with a colleague or a friend. And they were more smaller in size, but there was a lot of gathering happening there as well. There was also some quiet nooks in the park that residents and visitors used to relax and retreat. So understanding the current use of the plaza also helped us design the future, incoming plaza. Slide, please. So as we're doing all of this analysis, we understand that as a DOT plaza, the block will be officially closed to vehicular traffic by DOT prior to the start of the plaza implementation. So what we wanted to understand also was what would be the traffic impact, and at the request of DOT, we also conducted traffic counts to understand how vehicles moved through the block and also pedestrians. Really, the top takeaway was it was an underutilized block, as Jake had mentioned earlier. And we saw that there were 23 times more pedestrian footfall through the block and across Spring, Dominic, and Broome. And that also helped us understand how much less of a traffic impact would have on the plaza. Slide, please. So getting all of this information and really grounding it onto the site, I think the community engagement as well as the site analysis helped us come into this zoning approach. We were able to use the linearity of the block, as Jake mentioned, and really able to cater this design to multiple stakeholders. We divided up into different sections. So the southern part of the block is really more of an active and social space. It is more closer to the schools, and given the need or their desire and vision for a more social space, it made sense to kind of zone it towards the southern end. And going north, it really is a more flexible and scalable space. As we're thinking more about programming as well, it was helpful to have a space that can, become a larger extension of the social and active space when needed. And during other times, it would be a part of the urban living room, which is really more of an everyday spot, as the workers, students, as well as the residents had wanted. The northern part of the plaza, as it really is flowing in from Spring Street traffic, as well as the subway station there. It was the gateway to the plaza itself, and it's also the gateway to the neighborhood. And so we really see that as more of an open and flexible space. There is a presence of a retailer there, a restaurant, Cafe Alto Paradiso. So thinking about them as well and potentially extending it as an outdoor dining space, we also thought that could be a factor to be considered as cafe seating in the northern end of the plaza. Slide, please. So this is the exciting part where we get into the furnishing layout of the plaza itself. This really is derived from the zoning diagram that we talked about earlier, the layout that talks about the social spaces and the active spaces and how furniture can really lend itself to that. But before I get into that, I also wanted to insist on 2 points that helped derive the design for us. One was the emergency access lane that needs to be routed through the plaza, which you can see is the gray portion that's highlighted on the northern side of the plaza. Most side of the plaza, and that also meant that we needed to design these furniture elements to be movable by emergency personnel or the maintenance crew when needed. And so the furniture layout and the furnishings itself, as you will see in the later slides, will be lending itself to that flexibility and movability. And also on the geometry of the design. So you would see that there's a bump out on the northern side and the southern side of the plaza extending into Dominic and Spring Street. That really is not only a way to welcome people into the plaza, but also targets one important factor that we saw a lot of pedestrian movement while we did the traffic counts from Trader Joe's across to Spring Street Park or on the southern side. And that pedestrian movement, so we wanted to shorten that to create some more safe crossing for that area. And so bumping it out was really an address to that. And on the southern side as well, it was an attempt to shorten the crosswalks. I'd invite DOT to add more if I've missed anything. But so it was really both those sides, the bump outs were to help in shortening the crosswalks and making the plaza a safer space to access. Getting into the design of the layout itself, Getting into the layout itself, so the southern part there you would see a rectangular sort of dotted line. That empty space is devoted to the programming that we were talking about, and it's really an empty space which could be populated with a draw card or a performance, and it really is a space that can lend itself to programming. Around that you would see a lot of social spaces as we spoke about. It has tiered seating, which is almost mimicking a stoop, and also picnic tables to allow for students or workers to gather, have lunch, and meet each other and socialize. And as you move towards the northern end of the plaza, you'll see more of bistro furniture and cafe seating, as well as modular furniture. So those little blue boxes there, and I'll be showing all of these in images soon. Those little blue boxes there are really seating that could be arranged in multiple ways to create smaller nooks for people to relax. It will have back-to-back benches, and that'll also allow for more smaller group gatherings, as I had mentioned, within workers or visitors. I want to address the two rectangles that are the brown rectangles that you see. Those are parklets. They're placed towards this, attached to the Spring Street Park itself. They create this buffer between the park and the plaza. What they are is really an extension of the park in terms of a deck where furniture could be placed on them, and they act as these urban living rooms and create more of these private or nuke-like spaces for people to interact. And as you move towards the north, the cafe seating that you would see on the northern side towards the cafe or towards the building. And that is really the cafe seating with green planters to create that visual buffer and a lot of greening to allow for more relaxed experience. And I've also not yet gotten to it, but there's also some screening and visual elements to it that add some interest, but as well as some visual buffer in terms of creating a more isolated, but also relaxing and retreat-like space. I want to also get into the furniture elements to really see what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it'll be very helpful to see when we show the images of all the furnishings. I just wanted to note, we're very mindful of the operations and safety of the space as well. So we have marked here lighting poles that are existing, as well as our planned deployment of trash bins to catch people as they're leaving the north or south end of the space. And we do have in terms of the lighting, we do have a mid-block light pole, which is helpful. We also in Spring Street Park have a lot of pedestrian scale lighting. So, some amount of that ambiently should be filling into this space.
So I'm seeing the DOT light poles primarily on the perimeter, and then the pedestrian light poles in the interior.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, the orange is the typical Cobra head light pole, and then the yellow is that more pedestrian scale.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Slide, please. So I think this would give more of a visual explanation to all the furniture elements that we've been talking about. Before I get into the furnishing elements, with all these like design requirements in mind for playful seating, for social spaces, for retreat, and quiet spaces with green buffers, and also the important factor to consider, which is the movability. Keeping all of that in mind, we put out an RFP for furnishing vendors, and also selected a vendor that has had a lot of experience in New York City doing these kinds of plazas, and has worked with multiple bids as well. And you can also see from the images here that they have a really wide spectrum of furnishing pieces that could really elevate the space itself and also match the quality of the other spaces that we have around the neighborhood. So I just want to talk about the particular pieces here. The stoop tiered seating that you see and the picnic tables are what we talked about as will be placed in the southern end, which is the social space. And because it has that tiered seating quality, it will be able to lend itself for performances where you can have more of an amphitheater-like effect. And at the same time, the modular seating and planters really provide that siloed seating as well as some nooks like spaces for gathering. And they're also all movable, so they could be rearranged seasonally or periodically to create different kinds of patterns or different clusters and nooks. What you see on the right to that is the screening element that we are talking about. So it is this, it will be placed within planters itself and provide that perforated, but also enough of a visual buffer to create more of a quiet space from all the social activity we are talking about. This will be used primarily only during the cafe seating area to create that different zone. And below you can see the two different parklets that we were talking about. These are the decking platforms with furniture on top, which mix different types of seating, bar seating and tiered seating, as well as some kind of greening buffer to create that space. You'll also see bistro furniture, which is commonly seen in plazas, but it's also something that lends itself to different spaces as you move and through the day and seasons. And we also want to extend that language from Spring Street Park, which has a lot of these bistro tables and chairs, into it. To get into the programming examples, we're really thinking based off what the students wanted, based off what the workers said they wanted, like more of seeing local artists, art exhibits being something that is of interest to the community, as well as those pop-up markets that featured on all of the surveys and engagements that we did. Next slide, please. Getting to the last but also not the least element is the asphalt mural. It really, with the strong interest in public art from the community itself through the engagement, but also with our experience in working with public art through the neighborhood and the bid, we feel really excited about this mural adding to the space and elevating it to the next level by adding more color and vibrancy and really tying that space together. So the asphalt mural will span across from curb to curb extension to curb extension. And we're also thinking that it will span the entire plaza itself, and that'll be a great opportunity. We also asked a few questions in the survey to understand what kind of art the community would like to see, and we heard back, and we would really like to lend the art to that community feedback to make it a more calming and a nature-based sort of artwork. So currently we already put out an RFP last month, and we're in the process of reviewing the artist applicants, and this will be going through the DOT art program. And so the next steps are sending the developed design to the DOT art team, and also we're planning on including the community in the asphalt mural itself by offering a volunteer painting event, and making sure that they're part of the process. Yeah, slide please. I think with that, I'll hand it over to Jake to talk about maintenance and next steps in the future possibilities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. The asphalt mural, is that a painted element? Have you seen what happens along in front of Union Square?
Yes, we've been talking to them a lot. We've done a few of these asphalt murals, but not with a volunteer component. And they've been doing this every year for like 5 or 6 years now. So we've been talking to them and using them as a model for how we would structure it.
And what do they say as to the longevity?
Let's save our questions, Frederica, until they finish the
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Just so we can come back. We will have a lot of questions.
And we're almost done. So to wrap up here, I just want to make a few final points. As the maintenance partner, the bid will be responsible for everything from litter removal, snow clearance, to furniture maintenance, horticultural care. These are services that we already provide across the neighborhood and a number of open spaces that we manage, including the adjacent Spring Street Park. So, there will be real synergies to expanding those services. Slide, please. And a quick look at our timeline, which is moving briskly toward completion by this summer. So in early spring, we would be starting with DOT closing the block to vehicular traffic. Following that, our contractor will be doing the street surface preparation. We plan on milling and repaving the block, so we will have a very smooth surface that will be great for art and also movable furnishings. The installation of the asphalt mural and what we're calling a soft opening, which would be putting out some basic bistro furniture while we wait for the more elaborate furnishings that'll come in late spring. And then we are tracking for full completion of the plaza by early summer.
Great. Is that your presentation? Thank you guys so much and for all the detail. And we're going to take questions. I'm going to first ask Frederica since I interrupted you.
I just go by Union Square a lot, and I see it looks great when it's first put down, but it doesn't really hold up. Do you have a different plan?
So we've had good success with the few asphalt murals in our neighborhood. I think Union Square has, just another level of foot traffic that presents a challenge. All of our bids working with DOT Art have learned a lot, I think, about the materials. And so, with each one of these installations, there is consultation with the city about, what works best. I think also the artist community has learned a lot at this point. So based on our recent experience, we think, this should be very durable, at least for the 11-month period that it'll be permitted.
Thank you. So just so everybody understands, this is our opportunity to ask questions, because then when we go into business session, I think you're seeking a resolution to support this, and we will be providing our feedback then. So to that end, I'm going to start with Shirley, who's on the Zoom, and then we'll come to Ben. Shirley?
Okay, actually, I'm thinking back to when we talked originally about designing Spring Street Park, and two things stand out in my mind that we discussed. And I just wondered if they were integrated into the discussion here. One was a city bike station. Now, is there one in the park? I remember it was proposed.
There is currently a city bike station just south of where the plaza is proposed on Little 6th Avenue between Dominic and Broome.
So that would remain.
Oh, okay, so that does remain. Okay, great. The other was about activities in the winter, and you did make a reference to seasonal changes and responding to them. And I wonder if you could just say a little more about that.
So we mentioned the seasonality in that the furnishings, most of the furnishings are meant to stay in place in the layout, most of the time, but there will be opportunities for adjustment, as we see how the plaza is used. I think one of the benefits of a lot of the furnishings we're talking about is that they'll be out year round. So there, will be opportunities to use the space in the winter, for that, rare, beautiful day that might happen in January or February. And did I miss anything else there?
Great.
Does that answer the question?
Okay, thank you.
Ben?
Hey, thanks for coming, guys. I have two questions. One is for the 14 parking spaces that are currently there, 2-hour metered. Did you guys look at what the current usage is there? Are they pretty much always full, or?
The traffic count analysis that the bid conducted included all vehicles entering and leaving the space over, I think it was 4 different spans of 2-hour increments on different days of the week. So that would include any cars that come to park and then leave again. And that number is what we're referring to when we say there's 23 times as much pedestrian traffic. And that that figure, the 23 times as much pedestrian traffic, is really only on the 3 crosswalks that will be affected by this plaza project. So any cars that are coming and parking and then leaving, there are many more pedestrians crossing the space.
But you're talking about cars in motion, and I think Ben is asking about what happens to the parking, since the parking spaces go away, how popular are those parking spaces?
Yes, their traffic counts included both cars entering and leaving the space. So that would presumably include any cars that come and park and then leave, because the counts were conducted over basically the course of an entire day.
Thanks.
And then I saw something about in the slide about the mural, I saw something about curb extension, but I don't know if I might have missed it, if there was other information about the curb extensions.
Talked about bumpers.
I think the curb extensions referred to are just the north and south ends of the plaza, where it's not just the, that one block, but we increase pedestrian space a little bit into Spring Street and a little bit into Dominic Street as well.
Okay, yeah. So I was wondering about that, because Dominic is not so heavily trafficked, but Spring Street is pretty consistently heavily trafficked with vehicles. So it seemed to me, like on the diagram at least, like that curb extension goes out like about a parking spot's width into Spring Street.
Into Spring Street, but along Spring Street right there. So the curb extension on Spring Street is really, since that is currently a vehicle traffic zone, there's no parking or standing there right now. And to either side of it is also currently a no standing zone. So there will be no parking impacts on Spring Street at all.
No, I wasn't particularly concerned with the parking impacts. I was just wondering about the curb extension, the purpose of it, or if there's anything there at the edge separating people or activities happening there from the traffic.
The purpose of it, as I think Madhu said, is both to increase pedestrian space, but also to increase pedestrian safety. The bid observed a lot of people making mid-block crossings along Spring Street there. DOT is examining the possibility of installing a mid-block crossing there. It's something that we're going to come back to after the plaza is installed. But while people are making those mid-block crossings anyway, we wanted to make it as safe as possible for them. And part of the plan for implementation of the plaza includes delineators to be installed along the marking lines on either end of the plaza there, but also the bid is going to deploy planters to kind of fortify and solidify those edges.
And just to further clarify, it's within the parking lane, so it doesn't go out into moving lane at all.
Yeah. I'm trying to get my head around so there still needs to be availability for emergency traffic. Is that correct?
Correct.
But the full street will still be closed to vehicular traffic at all times of the year.
Correct.
Is there a precedent or a process for the transition period of how permanent a project like this is? Because it seems to me, as we think, does it make sense for 10, 15 years from now that there would still be an emergency traffic lane? Is that what DOT and other people want? Is there a vision that projects like these could get absorbed into Spring Street Park and make it not a road entirely?
That's a great question. So all of our plazas, this I think Jake alluded to, we call this first implementation phase an interim plaza, although really interim plazas can remain for a number of years. All plazas are intended eventually to go through the capital reconstruction process, which will eventually raise them up to sidewalk height. When they're next to a parks triangle like Spring Street Park, we will often work with parks to ensure that the resulting plaza kind of blends into the existing space. We'll often build it to park standards, or in the case of maybe some slightly unique conditions, try to match those so that it all does seem like one more or less seamless space, although it can have its own unique elements to it. There will still be an emergency lane maintained even in a capitally reconstructed plaza. Sometimes they can be quite subtle the way that they're designed. You might not necessarily notice it just looking at it with your eyes, but trust us, all of our capital plazas do have emergency access lanes in them.
Great. And then one more question on the artist mural project. Is that a type of thing that might get rotated every year, every couple of years? How do you see timelines on that?
Yeah, that's quite possible. As Jake mentioned, the timeline for installation is they're permitted for 11 months, but once that 11 months is up, the bid is welcome to re-engage with DOT Art and pick a new artist and reinstall a new mural.
I have some feedback that I'd like to give, just because I want it to be reflected perhaps in our resolution. I'm really happy that the bid is going to be maintaining this because there are a lot of concerns that I think will be addressed by the bid. I'm very concerned about trash. There are going to be a lot of people eating in this plaza all year round, and we're going to need a lot of very good. I saw that you put the big bellies on that diagram, and I'm grateful for that, but I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about rats, and I mentioned this at another occasion. We had those platforms, a really nice place for rats to hang out, especially when there's a sandwich nearby. I'm concerned about visibility because teenagers like to have secret spaces, and that's not a good thing. And lighting, you showed that on the diagram, so I'm grateful for that. There's one thing that I also wanted to make sure that you could take full advantage of the fact that the door and these other schools are there, and I would love it if you could investigate whether they have the artistic capacity maybe to contribute not just to the execution but also to the design of the mural. It would be a great way to incorporate them into this. The one thing I'm concerned about with the bid is that, we have an experience when bids run a plaza, there are a lot of SAPO permits that are very commercial. And I know that all the money goes back into the bid, but and I also know that this is a space that right now is very unactivated, but that can turn on a dime, and I think this is going to be really pretty and really nice, and a lot of people are going to come to it. And my concern is that then when the bid starts to program it with commercial enterprises, that we'll have something that's just a little too much like the meatpacking bid, which is a lot of commercial activity on that pedestrian plaza. So I would hope that that gets reduced. That's my feedback.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you have any comments about the, excuse me, the commercial activations of the plaza? What you have in mind?
Maybe, would it be helpful for DOT first to speak to limitations that come with the concession process?
Well, we're kind of familiar with plazas because we have a safe, we have two of them in our district, right? We have Astor Place and we have meatpacking. I guess one question might be like, what kind of revenue expectation do you have from that? Because I'm sure that you're budgeting for that revenue will be going into your operations or capital projects or whatever, but how much are you budgeting to be able to get from revenue from those activities?
We haven't budgeted for revenue from those activities at this point. Right now, we're just really excited about having a space for our community to do programming ourselves. We're looking to explore pop-up food markets and those kinds of things. We're already talking to the schools in the door. We work with the door pretty closely. They take our piano from Freeman Plaza East every winter time, and then we put it back in. And we do have a board member who represents the door at Broome Street Academy. Also, I know they mentioned we talked to Here Arts, so there are a lot of like wonderful groups that we hope will activate the space, and some of the local businesses too, right? We talked about Alto Paradiso being right there. They're very interested in that. So as far as commercialization, I think right now we're really focused on allowing a local business, hopefully through a public RFP process, which of course we would need to do to activate it as a concession. And beyond that, we don't know. I can tell you that our colleagues that run much larger plazas than this, that do have more commercial activity, it covers some of the maintenance. It doesn't actually bring additional revenue into it. It's a pretty small space. We'll see kind of what opportunities come up and we'll keep talking, but we don't have like big plans for that at this point.
Thank you very much for addressing that. Are there other questions? Wait, I see Darlene Lutz. Darlene, let me see if I allow you to talk. Okay, now I ask you to unmute. Darlene, you want to speak?
Hi, thank you.
There you
Sorry, thank you.
No, there you are. Go ahead.
Now I can't hear you, but I think you can hear me.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Good. As you know, Darlene Lutz, I'm familiar with this area for over 50 years now, and I do have some questions about the use of Dominic Street, which is where the loading docks of a very large hotel are, that pick up the garbage and do all the delivery there, the Dominic Hotel on Dominic Street. To my observation, they come, across Spring, down Little Sixth, and then to Dominic. So does the DOT intend on changing the direction of traffic on that small street? That would be a major consideration for all. I would like to remind everybody the reason we have emergency lanes are for emergency vehicles, for fire, for ambulance. There are people that live on that. There are people that live on that block, and there are businesses. And the other point I wanted to make is that I don't believe that a restaurant that has the good fortune to be facing a park and has an ample sidewalk cafe needs any more space where into a public realm plaza. I'm talking about Alto Paradiso on the corner of Little Sixth and Spring Street. Next door to that is a very large and popular motorcycle store, Ducati, that has used that parking lane as their outdoor showroom in front of it for, I don't know, over a decade. I don't know if that's being addressed or if they're going to be allowed to, stack up the motorcycles there. This has impacts in regard to parking. We are losing parking in this neighborhood right and left. So this is just more of the same.
Thank you, Darlene. I'm going to ask you to wrap that up.
I think the Spring Park is pretty well utilized. I don't see any benefit to commercial activations there. They
Darlene,
will
can you hear me?
come. I sit through every
She can't hear me.
meeting of permitting now for street activity. This is a very, very popular area for
Thank you,
people to do
Darlene. I
their
don't know if you
pop-up
can hear me.
promos.
Hello. I don't know if you
So I
can
don't
hear
think
me.
there's any question that that's
I'm
the
gonna mute her.
trajectory of this
Sorry, I got
as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Darlene, if you can hear me, I had to mute you because I don't think you did hear me. I just needed you to wrap it up. So I'm going to move on to Pete Davies, and I'm sorry for cutting you off,
Well-
but thank you. Your points are well taken.
No, could you answer one of the questions? I think the
Could
one
I
about the
respond to some
traffic.
of the
Yeah,
comments on
please do.
Dominic Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically on Dominic Street, DOT does not plan to reverse the flow of traffic on Dominic Street. It will remain eastbound. So really anywhere that is accessible now will remain accessible to vehicles except for the one block that we are proposing to pedestrianize. So nothing will change on Dominic Street or on Little Sixth south of Dominic Street, Broome Street, anywhere else. The proposed, excuse me, sorry? Ducati. I'll let the bid address that in one moment, but just noting that there will be no parking loss on Dominic Street, and the design includes, making sure that trucks are still able to make that turn there. So in addition to the emergency access lane, I don't think anyone on Dominic Street or on the southern block of Little Six will see any vehicle impacts whatsoever.
Thank you. And Ducati?
So the parking regulations have never allowed for Ducati to leave their bikes there. And as Jake mentioned, we have talked extensively to all of the businesses and people that are around the plaza. Ducati understands that once this is closed to vehicles, they really, really can't leave their bikes there. And they're trying to figure out where else they can put them. We're also in conversations with the property owner about it. So these are ongoing conversations for them to kind of figure out how to handle that.
Thank you. I see two more people with their hands raised. We'll go to Pete Davies, and then we'll go to Jeffrey Rowland, and then we'll go into business session. Pete?
Great, thank you. If you could still just clarify what's going to happen with eastbound Dominic Street, how you even access that if Little Sixth Avenue is closed. But my main question is, a lot of people have expressed concern that when you add all sorts of rest areas, furniture to the street, large pieces for lounging, that once the local businesses shut down and when the bid is no longer monitoring the area, who manages that outdoor area where people congregate late into the night?
Right, once it's dark. What happens when it's dark?
Thank you. Yes, our public plazas are public space, like sidewalks. They're open 24/7, 365. So
Yes, but
people
right
can-
now they don't have public seating. And you're now creating a situation where people can lounge 24/7.
That is correct. They can also lounge 24/7 in Spring Street Park, adjacent to the plaza.
But the seating in Spring Street Park is small seats. It's not lounging seats. So anyway, I think you need to look at that. Thank you
for that feedback. I will let the bid consider that feedback for their furniture that they'll purchase for the plaza. And I will just reiterate that Dominic Street is eastbound from Varick to Little Sixth Avenue. We are not changing that to access that block of Dominic Street. You simply need to turn off from Varick as you do now.
Thank you. And Jeffrey?
Yes, my question would be, will the restaurant be using the expanded area or seating that will become available, or will they be prohibited from exploiting such proximity, particularly regarding the serving of alcohol, which they do? And I could see their waiters, if they had a big crowd, would want to cross into the area that would be now becoming available and serve there. And not too happy about that plan at all. I'm not really sure why we even need to expand anything other than what we have.
Thank you. That's a great question. The way dining in plazas work is that through the concession agreement with DOT, the bid will be able to enter a sub-concession agreement with the restaurant in question. The restaurant, for their dining, for their customers, they will not have access to the furniture supplied by the bid for the plaza. They will need to supply their own tables and chairs. They will be in a clearly demarcated area that will be contained and visually very identifiable as restaurant seating.
So that means there would be a restaurant essentially on the plaza?
They have to get a liquor
I'm
license
sorry,
for this, or
say it with the microphone if you don't mind. Will there be an area of the plaza that you can only go to if you are a patron of a commercial establishment?
Theoretically, yes. DOT's rules would allow that through a concession agreement. If they wanted to come here, though, or if they wanted to serve alcohol, they would have to appear before the SLA committee and have their license altered. It would be up to the community board whether they would approve that or not, and then the SLA would follow from there.
But in other words, a sub-concession could actually delineate an area, a geographic area on the plaza where the public can only enter if it is a patron of a commercial establishment.
In theory, yes. DOT adopted rules last August that refers to concession seating, which allows for up to 33% of a plaza to be used for this concession seating purpose. But 33% is the maximum. We're by no means talking about a full 33% to be used by this particular restaurant by any means. There's quite a lot of steps that would have to happen before we get to that, and it would include a touch point with the community board again.
Great, thank you.
A question on, is there, for that sub-concession agreement, is there a limit to the number of days that the operator could do that?
It could be specified in an RFP that the bid issues for people to respond to, and then ultimately DOT reviews and approves all those sub-concession agreements. And then furthermore, when they want to, if this business serves alcohol, they would appear before the board, and then the board has quite a lot of sway in terms of what is allowed when it comes to the provision of alcohol.
Thanks. Federico?
Can you go back and show us where you're talking about the restaurant, where the restaurant is?
Oh, yeah, it's on the northwest corner of the block.
On your schematic, or no?
Yes.
And I also just want to mention the plaza will be open for a while before this will happen. And as the bid, we want to see how the space is used as well before determining what amount of the space would make sense to do, right, if it does. But, you know, we also would have to do a competitive process to do this, so it's all public and transparent.
And would the bid receive the revenue for the permitting of that, for the space? The bid would receive the revenue for the
Yes.
subconcession. Did you have a question over there? Why don't you come up?
Hi, my name's Laura Smith. I live right in this neighborhood. I didn't even know this was happening on the agenda, so. I feel like we have to have a really in-depth thought about this bump out, because it can take somebody who's going from Varick to 6th Avenue, it could take them 3-4 cycles of a light to get through when all of that construction was happening. There's no reason to put a bump out to encourage illegal crossing. If you want to make it a crossing, make it a crossing, but don't encourage people to cross there when it's not safe.
So just to clarify though, the city council did actually adopt rules a few years ago that decriminalize jaywalking. So technically
I'm just saying
it's
for
not
safety.
illegal. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But as my colleague Clay had mentioned, we're actually going to be taking some evaluation steps to see what it would take to add a legal crossing, which we're hopefully going to be able to do.
Certainly,
But it will
but
take a little bit of time.
Having that bump out,
right,
squeezes the traffic together again.
It doesn't affect the travel lane. It would only
Sure it
affect
does.
Well,
I live there.
We're not
so-
going to have a discussion
Anyway.
about it, but I hear your point, and I've written it down, and it's good, and thank you.
And is it also possible for Hudson Bid and the community board to have a conversation with the DOT about parking when we lose parking, to expand parking in other areas, say like the east side of the park?
I think
Just
that
a
we
thought.
can raise that with that committee. Thank you. And are there any other questions on our committee? Thank you all. I think we're going to go into business session and we'll discuss this. Thank you for the time that you've given us and for the clear presentation. Rich, do you have anything else you want to add to this? Okay, so we're going to enter into business session. Anyone is welcome to stay. We will no longer hear from the public. And we will discuss what we heard tonight. So Shirley and Rich are part of this. So I think we're talking about 3 resolutions, right, Rich? We got Washington Square Park rebranding, the new surface, approval of new surface for the dog run. Those are 2 resolutions that the park wants. And then the third is I'm sure that the bid would like support or our feedback on this presentation for the plaza. Let's get rid of sharing the screen.
Okay, I'll stop.
Why do we need, oh, I see. Oh, we have a draft.
I've drafted, yeah.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just did during the meeting, just to recapture some of the points. I got better at it as we went along, as you'll see, but.
Quiet. We're going to try to be quiet so we can hear because the audio is so bad in here.
Yeah, it's you can take it or leave it. It's just I just documented a few points that came up in the presentation, in the discussion. But I think we should just discuss how people feel about it before we look at specific wording.
How does everybody feel? Yeah.
And I want to point out that this is not the end. This, as Valerie pointed out, this has to go to LPC, and then we'll go to CB2 Landmarks Committee. This may not be a Parks and Open Space discussion.
That's important to know. Does anyone have a sense of this? Eddie?
Here's another microphone.
This to me strikes me as a very easily reversible decision. The fact that it has to go through landmarks seems like a frustrating amount of process, both for them and for us, to me. These are signs in a park. I think wayfinding in our parks is very important. I'm especially supportive of the signs in the middle of the park that clearly identify areas. I am more neutral to the ones at the entrances, but I am personally supportive of what they want to do here.
Fine. I don't think we're gonna challenge the process that the city has in place.
I'm not saying we put
but
that
I'm
in
just
there.
saying you
It's my own
support it. I support it as well. Is there anybody here who does not support it?
I just want to point out from what Rich
I
has
don't
on there.
support it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I also
I'll
wanted to
just finish
speak. I'm not
quickly.
entirely clear. I support
Wait,
it.
before,
Hey,
1 second,
let me
Valerie's
just-
speaking. We'll
Yeah,
come
let me
back.
just quickly just get this in as I had started talking. So the landmarks, so the Washington Square Park is located in the Greenwich Village Historic District. So that's the city charter and all of that. So I think that needs to be put in there in the whereas that it's.
I see it being typed as we speak.
Yes, they're great. And that, this, based on past landmarks applications, this likely will be a signage master plan with staff level approvals at the individual level when there are changes. But that's likely where this will go. I'm guessing if I were to put us on Polymarket. Anyways, so that's what I would say about that, is that it's in the.
Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't preclude the board from making any, and through the landmarks committee and the official process, but you've got that in there, so thanks.
Great. Shirley, you want to talk?
Yeah, I am not in support of the signage. I think that the size of Washington Square Park in proportion to the amount of signage that's being proposed is totally out of proportion. It's not that big a park. What did we say, 7 acres? And
I'm having a terrible time hearing you, but I think.
Wait a minute, I would just like to talk about this. I'm very disturbed about it. I feel that there's a lot of this signage is really superfluous. In this kind of park, you should be able to ask for in person to different people where a particular spot is. Parks are supposed to be kind of bucolic, and the less signage you have, the more you preserve the intention of the park environment. So I am all for as little signage as possible. And I think then it would have
Little
to be
signage as
what
possible,
that
okay.
signage is. What is really necessary? Also, I don't even think it was very attractive. I think that if possible, you should avoid having signage in a park of this size in particular. It's one thing to
Okay.
have Central Park or the like.
So I have to say, Shirley, it's not your fault, but it's so garbled. But my takeaway from everything you say is that you're very uncomfortable with the number of signs. And I think
The
that
number of signs, because of the size of the park, and because parks are meant to be on the bucolic side, and signages take away from the environment
Great.
that parks are supposed to provide.
Thank you. I don't mind that point personally. Does anybody else want to?
I mean, I'll just quickly add on to that, is that as part of the landmarks application package, it would have the number of signs and the placement of them, particularly on a site plan. So that would, again, be one venue where that comment could go as well.
Go ahead, Frederica.
I recognize the name of, I'm sympathetic to people who think it's a lot of signs, but I recognize the name of the designer, Pentagram. It's one of the best designers in the world.
They're really good.
So you have to applaud the level of design that they're considering.
Yeah. I think, Rich, I'm seeing you type in this, and basically it looks like we are.
Wait. So can I speak? It's Coral.
Let Coral.
Yeah.
Let Coral speak.
So I have several. So I think my major issue with this is that I think it's trying to address something that it wasn't explicit about, which is fundraising. And I totally appreciate that, but sort of what is the point of having this signage? The real point of the signage, I think, is probably to raise the visibility of the Conservancy with the hope of raising donations to support the park, which I completely applaud and laud. But I think there's a huge disconnect with the vast majority of the population that will not make that connection. They need to actually be told, this Washington Square Park Conservancy works in coordination. We fundraise and we do blah, 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 blah. Like, they need more than just a logo. I agree. Pentagram is one of the leading designers in the world. This was super disappointing as a design. It's like,
Doesn't that information go on their website? I mean, when you look up the website.
So why do you have it on the signs? People are not going to connect. Like, I'm walking through the park and I see this totally unnecessary, just 2 icon signage. and that's going to make me donate to the park. That's not going to happen. They don't even understand that they should look at the, there's not like a QR code. They're not going to,
Oh,
there's no
you're
explanation.
suggesting, I think
I'm
you're
suggesting, if you let me speak, I would suggest doing something like those like sandwich boards, which are temporary and you can remove, where you actually explain what the nature of the relationship is, because the vast majority of New Yorkers do not understand that the conservancies are what the parks actually rely upon for their maintenance and budget. They don't get it. So unless you have somebody that's on the community board or has been a local for a long time making that connection, they just see a sign with 2 logos. And the pentagram thing is like blue. It's not even like Scrabble's not blue. So I don't know why they picked blue, but like if for any Scrabble player, and I'm like, I even have Scrabble cufflinks that I give people, like that's just not a very compelling Scrabble iconography. It wasn't very compelling. And I feel like if the objective, and I'm not sure because it wasn't stated explicitly, is to encourage people to be more supportive of the Conservancy, which I think would be wonderful. I don't think this is going to do that, and it's going to clutter the park. So I have a hard time supporting it as much as I don't have a problem with the Conservancy, the design, or pentagram, or any of it. But I feel like it's frivolous, it clutters the park, and it's not going to actually effectively deliver what is intended, if I'm right, in that the intent is to raise the visibility of the Conservancy for donations. I think it's going to
Okay,
have to be
thanks,
more.
Carl. Parika?
Well,
I believe that everything that
Sorry, Fred.
Coral raised has to do with aesthetics, and it's better considered in landmarks than in parks.
Rich, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, I agree. I mean, look, we can say, hey, Will, we don't feel comfortable being the committee that passes this. And we don't think you did a particularly good job of presenting the real purpose, as Coral said. I'll say Coral, and Coral said you didn't do a good job of, no, I'm kidding. I mean, we can just pass it back.
Maybe I wasn't paying well enough
No,
attention.
you're
but
right, Coral, I agree with you.
Clear on
I
why we're
agree with
doing
you.
this.
I agree with you. I tried to ask that question, why are we doing it? And he said, the convey the announcement of the partnership. But look, it's fine to say, hey, Will, I'm sorry, you didn't convince us. There wasn't, you don't want, Will, you don't want us to go back with a mixed message.
I was convinced, I'm sorry. The way I read it, I mean, just as a member of people here, is it made a lot of sense to me. There is a relationship between the park, and I'm not accustomed to seeing a story about the Central Park Conservancy when I go to Central Park. It's fine. And I imagine that it doesn't clutter the park, and I think the design is fine, so I'm fine with the whole thing.
I'd like to suggest that we just reject doing a resolution on branding because we're not in the business of that.
But he needs a resolution from us, or he's
But he'll
asking
be,
for a resolution.
regardless of whether he gets a resolution from us or not, he'll be taking it to landmarks, and then he will get a
I
resolution.
mean, you could always say that you support submitting it to LPC. I don't know, I'm just kind
Well,
of
that's
throwing
just a
that.
process, regardless of whether we support it or not.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
why are
That's
you
true. It's really
against
not.
a resolution? I mean, why are you against a resolution? Because otherwise you would want to redesign the.
Well, it's inappropriate. It's not the committee for it. If it's going to be referred to LPC for us to have another position from a committee that doesn't have the full application.
I feel it's like, thank you very much for the information. We'll look forward to reviewing it when it comes to either landmarks or the full board.
I would say, I could be convinced either way whether we should have one or not, but landmarks are going to consider the landmark historic nature as pursuant to an LPC application. They're not going to consider whether or not, this is good for the Conservancy or it is good for the users of the park necessarily, considering just the aesthetic issues. So I would say just because landmarks is going to hear it does not rule us out from making
Yes, I take your point, but I could understand us saying, or I could understand the Landmarks Committee saying this is commercializing the park. It's too much, it's too much brand, and you could look at it from that point of view.
Rich, do you have a?
Carter has his hand up.
I know, I see Carter has his hand up, but Rich, did you want to say anything?
No, let Carter go.
Okay, Carter, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, in looking at the res zone, thank you, Rich, for putting that up. It doesn't really make much sense. It looks, if you have March 30th, there's no time for anything to happen. for a landmarks review. And I think the concern is that taking a reso from the board is going to be used in other ways that it may actually just end up at a staff level, potentially at landmarks. And I think it's best, if that's the review that has to happen, that we wait until that application is before the board.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think there are some issues. This wasn't really the,
right.
I think that it's not a great thing to put before the full board without all this other information available.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I agree with the points that say I have nothing against the signs or directing people to areas of the park or naming areas of the park for whatever purpose, and announcing the partnership. I have no issue with that. But I don't feel comfortable standing up there and saying I'm not sure how landmarks is going to weigh in. And so I think we say to Will, look, Will, I think we may be out of sync here.
So I just put in the chat, the Central Park Conservancy hired Pentagram, which is probably why the Washington Park Conservancy hired it. And they do explicitly explain the relationship between the two extensively throughout the park.
Okay, well.
So I just AI'd that, but like, in fact, they do go to the time to say the park needs us and this is what you need to do. Like the average person in New York does not understand how this works.
Okay.
And I don't think a sign with two icons is going to help.
So where are we ending up? Because we have two
I
more
think
resolutions.
I propose to go back to Will and say, look, it doesn't look like it's going to go well. And I suggest that you pull back on the request until you get some different designs and you come back again.
So do you think people's exception is to the design? Is it to the fact of it? Is it to the number of signs?
To the intent, Susanna. It's not clear
intent. Is what the parks, right. Intent is what should come to the Parks Committee. The design should go to and the number should go to Landmark. CB2 Landmarks Committee and Landmarks Preservation Committee.
Okay.
And just as a point, there's nothing that prevents them from moving forward.
Right, I agree.
And going to landmarks and then having that referred back to the board. Nobody has said go or don't go. It's just that perhaps this wasn't a full presentation.
Well, and I think because, like, let's say something happens at LPC, and they say, okay, this will just be staff level. You still had incomplete information that left the public a lot of questions regardless, right, Rich?
I think that's true. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just
so that's why I don't.
What's the incomplete information? What was the incomplete information?
Would be like in a sign, like in a a plan that showed all the locations or the density, so you could see not just like a number.
What interests me was what Coral was saying, and she repeated it a few times about people not understanding the connection between the Conservancy and the park, as I understand. That's not our business. That's bad branding, but that's not a park and waterfront issue.
I wonder how people would feel if every sign talked about the relationship between the two.
It was a very tasteful little archy thing under the leaf. I thought it was very nice and subtle. I wouldn't want to see the whole name spelled out. I don't want to get into critiquing branding.
Okay, so Rich, why don't we go with what you just said?
Yeah, let me talk to Will. I don't feel comfortable standing up the full board and describing because I can't answer all the questions that will arise.
Okay. So should we vote on doing that? What do we vote?
I mean,
so the committee needs to vote on passing a resolution or not passing a resolution?
No, we don't have to pass a resolution. We can say that the conversation was such that, we want more information. We want to present it in a different way before we feel comfortable passing a resolution.
Okay, fine.
Let's
Next
talk about
topic.
The resurfacing of both dog runs.
Yeah. Anyone have any issues with that? Eddie?
Seems good.
I agree. Okay. Done.
We're going to be unanimous on this.
Yeah, but any comments on things you want? So therefore be it resolved that we approve it. However, are there any, modifications or mitigations on that? Therefore be it resolved.
I don't have any.
I don't have it either.
Are we talking about the dog runs now?
Right.
Yeah, the resurfacing of the
material.
dog runs. Yeah.
Oh, the resurfacing, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the only thing is they told us that it wasn't going to have those pebbles in the plastic. If for any reason that would change, we would want to know because that stuff is awful.
The pellets,
So,
it's called.
Yeah, the pellets. So like they just represented that would not be the case, but we would want to make sure that doesn't change. Because that is just horrible.
We should probably mention the product in the resolution. Sin
Yeah,
lawn.
just to make sure.
Sin lawn.
Yeah, sin
Sin
lawn.
lawn, stitch and
And we can
backing,
get-
no rubber pellets. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think again, and he's got to raise the 161,000 and, fundraising needs to be done. That's what it is. This is going to be driven privately.
Should we move?
I just have one
Yes.
quick, it might be worthwhile to put in the whereas is that it is used in like many other parks throughout the city.
Yeah. I did point 8.
Oh,
but
look,
we
I
can,
love that you're writing while we're sitting here. It's so good.
well, I don't know if it's so good. There'll be a lot of wordsmithing, but.
Should we
And
go on to the presentation? To the
Yeah,
sixth-
the resolution,
Little
the
Sixth.
Plaza on Little Sixth Ave, yeah.
Okay. What's people's feedback on that? Frederica?
I think the work that they do is great, and I thought their presentation was good. But I'm remembering a few years ago that the Land Use Committee had a request for a restaurant to expand onto a plaza. It was a plaza in that neighborhood. It might have been the Dominic Hotel. And we took exception to the fact that in order to eat in the space that the plaza was the plaza, you had to be a patron of the restaurant. And I want to be sure that we go back and we look at that reso and make sure that our opinion of this corresponds with the position that we took about that, because I think we had some good points.
Well, I don't even think to go back.
But however, the DOT changed its rules in August, and if in fact that's the case, that would be a different structure for us to be considering, where I would normally agree with you, Frederica. But in this case, if they explicitly are saying that their plazas, the DOT is allowing bids to do up to 33%, that's just the rule. And I would also say as a local neighbor that's actually like, I mean, this is, just I'm going to weigh in here. It's a great restaurant. It's a good operator. Everybody in the neighborhood loves it. So it's not like somebody that's like, breaking all the rules, throwing trash out, making loud noise, et cetera. It's like a lovely establishment.
Yeah,
so
I would say
if,
general,
if that is the rules, yeah. But it's hard to oppose what the rules are that are dictated by DOT for its space.
I would say that in general, I'm uncomfortable to public spaces like this being sectioned off geographically where there are places that you can't sit because unless you're a patron of the restaurant. I mean,
the sidewalk sheds. Are we going to stop the sidewalk sheds everywhere?
Well, I'm sorry,
I do recall that there were a lot of points made in the reso, and I think it's just good to take a look at it and make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, you're right. It was the space next to the hotel, which was then called the Dominic. You're right. That was several years ago. I can do a quick search, and I will check.
I would also, I don't know how you all feel about this, but I would love to voice a concern that the plaza not become over commercialized.
Yeah.
Just because of what we've seen at meatpacking and
totally agree.
How little sway we seem to have with SAPO.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
We applaud them for their plan not to commercialize it, and we hope they'll continue that.
Well, they haven't said that they plan not to. They just have said they haven't gotten around to figuring out what the revenue would be.
She didn't seem to be saying that the revenue generating was one of their priorities. So.
Oh, but it is.
Vote it one way or
Well,
it will be.
let's encourage them, in a positive way.
They will want, they will want to have raised some money for the upkeep.
What you said was there was no planned revenue line from it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, if you all agree, I would like to imply a preference for like a fresh market, like pop-up food market is a little sketch. That starts getting into, you know, lots of just very commercial, gross stuff. Very different than like a Union Square open market or like a Washington Square. Like I think everyone would love to have a green market there. There's a Trader Joe's across the street. We have a grocery store. So if you're going to have a pop-up food, how about that being a, you know, farmer's market?
Well, maybe the point that you're getting to, Coral, is what we've been saying on this other aspect as well, which is just we're concerned about over-commercialization of the space.
But I don't mind it being, I mean, they're farms. They're still commercial. But I think that people would prefer to have it be a green market versus than being like, we have a lot of like tasting things that happen throughout Soho. And I'd hate for that to be a regular thing in that area.
How does anyone feel about just raising concerns about trash, lighting, visibility, rats? I mean, they have addressed them, but I kind of feel like those are points that we should always raise. Lots of big bellies, lots of attention.
They do have big bellies, though, to be fair. They have the foot.
No, I'm sure that they're addressing them, but I just think it might be helpful for us to iterate the things that concern us. Yeah, Eddie?
I in general, like having food options in parks when they exist. You know, I love, I eat at the burger place, Madison Square Park, you know, frequently. I also bring my lunch there, for example. I am much more concerned about the monopolization of space, that does not happen in many of the other cases where this happens in parks. So as we dance around what language around food and commercialization in this space might be, I would just say my opinion is I am in general amenable to a lot of these types of options. I am more uncomfortable about the extension of that space.
Yeah, you've mentioned the word monopolization, which is a nice word.
Yeah, I tend to
I
agree
just
with
want to
Eddie.
have
I'm not necessarily against any particular type of commercialization. Yeah, I'm just more concerned with, like the amount of space they may decide to use for that. So, you know, like 33% is the maximum, I suppose. But yeah, I think when they said that, I think our ears all perked up. So I think that is probably like our main concern.
Coral,
I have one other concern, which was, and this is just a footnote, but I want to have it on the record, is they did those, you know, sightings in October. I went to one like maybe 10 minutes after it was supposed to end or 10 minutes before it was supposed to end. There was no one there. And so I talked to like one of the maintenance workers and he said like 10 people were there. And then and I live on Spring and Mercer. I live very nearby. And the woman that spoke this evening mentioned that she had no idea this was going on either. They've been doing this for more than 6 months and say they had 200 total participants. So I wouldn't say this was really a great canvassing of the neighborhood at all, because I think I even did the survey too, but it was very structured. You had to answer like it wasn't open-ended. You had to pick one of their choices, and their choices were extremely limited. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not opposed to what they're considering right now, but in terms of community input, I would say that was not the model to pursue again.
Coral, I went to one, there were 40 people there. And
No, I feel like
they answered every
40
question.
something.
Yeah.
people getting, you know, public input is always a big question mark. What constitutes it and what. I wanted to ask how people feel about maybe including mention of the nearby schools and trying to engage them to the extent possible in pop-up events and artistic expression in the plaza.
They seem to have that covered, but it doesn't hurt to mention.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just will note that they do not, that those kids at those particular schools are not local. So they are only there during school hours, which is great because that says the high activity, but that's also possibly why it's skewed to only middle of the day, because they are not, they're generally traveling to the schools and are not locals.
Ben, do you want to say something?
Oh no, I just want to know, like they like noted that at the area towards the bottom of the existing park has like a larger open spot where students tend to congregate more, and they're like using and they plan to use the bottom of the street area to do similar stuff. So they're certainly taking into consideration like the student population, like what.
Yes, in
activities
terms of
they like to do. Yeah.
activities. But in terms of like the mural, the design of the mural, which I
Oh,
think
yeah,
they're
for
gonna,
sure.
and also they plan to do a lot of pop-up events, and I just hope that they can take advantage of using the school
Yeah, I would support
populations. I
that.
want to know how people feel about that. What else?
And one last thing, this is a security issue, and I just think we should footnote it because that is the park where students shot another student about a year ago. So they didn't mention anything about security, so if we're gonna have a lot more activity and many more hours, there was no mention of, even though there was a question asked about sort of more like, overnight usage, but that is in particular the park where a 16-year-old was shot by a student.
I think also that the question of what happens overnight or, when after dark is
That was at
important.
3 p.m.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, I know, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that in addition to what we're talking about in
Yeah.
security, and I think we also need to mention security at night.
It could be downcast lights. I was thinking maybe that would help because I know the residents would be upset about something else. But if we have they have the lights. So maybe if they kept them on at night, that would, I don't know if that, but some sort of lighting situation, especially with the Plaza part, because that part's not lighted right now.
I think our job will be to raise the concern and let them figure out how to solve the solution. Is there anyone else who wants to say something?
Rich,
Yeah,
can we
I
just
want-
add in
I'd
there?
just like to talk about was it decided that we should tell them to consider the planned bump out? I heard one person object to that. I mean, it's there to make the crossing shorter and safer. Why are we putting it in? To reconsider it.
The bump out.
Because it's not a crossing right now.
What?
It's not a crossing right now. It's just jaywalking.
Well,
Which I think we'd all like to be.
then it isn't
I agree,
jaywalking.
but it's not a legal crossing. That's why.
But I think that the concern that was raised, Shirley, was a question of the impact on vehicular traffic, especially like, I guess at tunnel hours, and will it be a draw on vehicular traffic, which this person pointed out was already a drag.
Well, but and I think Kyle mentioned this, like it's in like the parking lane. It's not where vehicular, it's not in the travel lane.
Doesn't reduce the travel lane. Is that what you're saying? Doesn't
Correct.
reduce
Yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily have any effect on traffic throughput.
Oh, there was also
I mean, the
concern
worst
raised
that
about
it
the
might
loss
do
of
is
parking
maybe
spots.
slow it down a little, and that would be safer. I really don't understand.
And the point of the bulb out is pedestrian safety. Like, it's not just for the sake of things. Like, there's not for no reason not to do it. And in the trade-off between pedestrian safety and half a light, another light cycle for a car, I will put my favor in favor of pedestrian safety.
Some might say the pedestrians could just cross at the green and not in between, and then the cars could go when it's their turn.
But if it's set up
What about the
with
loss
an
of parking spots?
established kind of design, and you've got the crosswalk there, then it isn't jaywalking. It's only jaywalking when it's not established there.
Yeah.
If they're going to get this going by the summertime, it's going to be the kind of thing that's just a paint job. So if it doesn't work out, they can
exactly.
change it.
Well, yes, that's another point.
Should we raise concern about the loss of parking spots?
Concrete.
I like to raise that.
I
don't
would
care
not.
about
I don't care enough. to fight.
Nobody cares about parking spots.
No,
Okay.
New Yorkers should be on public transportation.
So we'll take
All
that
right,
one out.
anything
I mean, it is a fact, but one quick thing, just for like SEO, Rich, would be good to put the Hudson Square Plaza name,
Sure,
so that
sure.
way
I'll-
it's findable later. Okay.
Absolutely will. Yeah, I was just doing it quickly. When they get the deck, I'll make all the right wording. And I'll fill it out. I just wanted to get the points down, but I'll take out the parking for example. All right. I think those were all the key points.
I also know we're running late. This is just probably not with the key points. I just think, we talk a lot about both of this committee and via other ways at the lack of park and open space in our districts. And this is like, to me, it seems like, wow, we're actually reclaiming real space, open space for humans. And that seems quite amazing and very cool. So I'm very excited to see a project like this.
Well, I think that should be noted.
You should thank Governor Hochul for New York's Empire State Development and the New York Forward grant that Hudson Square bid received. And then there was a process for projects just like this, trying to find more ways to put people in spaces.
Yeah, so let's applaud that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Yeah,
I make a motion
okay.
to adjourn.
Second.
Well, we got to vote. Is there, will anybody vote against it if we put all this in?
I'll support it.
That, I was putting the motion into the omnibus bill.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of this resolution on the plaza as discussed? Aye, unanimous. Any noes?
Thanks.
Any recusals, abstentions? Okay,
Thanks, guys.
we good? Motion to
Yeah, I'll
adjourn?
clean it up. Thank you.
Already moved.
Thank you, Susanna, for covering
Bye.
for me.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Raising your hand.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Did you say? Oh, no, she's not.
She's not.
I'm saying bye.
Night all.
Good night, all.